to the Nick and Matt Show, bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Recording live in studio, here's Nick and Matt.
What is going on, everybody? This is episode 141. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful Monday night. This episode is presented by Cosmic DG. Go check out everything Cosmic over at CosmicDG.com. They help tournament directors run events, make money actually while running the event, and they have a ton of cool stuff on their store. So always appreciate the support from them. Don't forget to check it out at CosmicDG.com. Matt, you are remote. I'm not remote. Evan is not remote. And Ben's not here.
We're always remote. Every single one of us is always remote. But this is not the Nick and Matt Show studio that we've come to grow and love. I am in Detroit, work trip, and then intern Ben said he's out, and I said, we're just going to cancel. And then we said, no, for the listeners, we'll figure it out. So you're not going to have all the bells and whistles, literally. But we will have an interview with JK tonight, Juliana Korver, 5-time world champion. And if it gets crazy, you guys just take over and I'll just start doing the feverish, what people imagine Statmando does. Remember the whole Gannonberg? Yes. Yeah. I'll just be doing that back here off camera. But let's see. Let's see how it goes tonight. I can't see the chat tonight because I have too many windows on my laptop in a hotel. So
I've got the chat on lock tonight. Speaking of the chat, I already have a decent amount of people watching, but just a quick little shout out to Braden Sides. He won another A tier this weekend, Tennessee State Disc Golf Championships. He also won the Lake Marshall Open, which I was able to attend. Met him very briefly, but shout out to him. Badass weekends. I'm sure Evan will give more of a take on that a little later.
Yeah, I had a whole segment on that, but we can either get into it now
in the chat
or
right now. You know, you gotta shout it out when they're in the chat.
Braden already knows what I'm going to say too. I think he shared our Instagram story, so I'm just going to share what we had in there. Not too much more information, but when we get to the recap, I will share all that good stuff.
Awesome. So yeah, we got JK. I am texting Adam HAMMES like as we speak right now. There is a small possibility he's able to join. As we know, Monday shows live are a little bit tough because players are just leaving after whatever they just did over the weekend, which is usually playing. They're traveling to the next event. And he's a winner, but he just texted me and said he's in the passenger seat, Nick. Let's see. Ooh. Oh, the bubbles popped up. I can't say live what he's saying yet, but we'll see. There's a possibility. Yeah. Besides that, people like us to get right into the disc golf talk, and so we'll do that. But right before, shout out to some of our listeners this week sending us messages saying like, love the show. Thank you. It's one of my favorites, or it is my favorite. If that's you, we totally appreciate that love. It means a lot. We appreciate YouTube comments and chats, but man, when people reach out on purpose to let us know they appreciate it, man, that goes a long way. So appreciate you, the disc golf community. Adam says he can join, and he says, as everybody does, I'm not sure how good my service will be. As we know.
That's the dice that we roll every single week.
So this is a live show. Here's how this is going to work. I have to do a few things on the computer. So I'm going to let Evan or you kind of take it away, but Evan's probably going to give us a recap. So if you're ready, we'll just jump right into that.
Yeah, I'm good to go with this. Hey, Nick, if you have any comments you want to say on the recap, I'm giving you full what am I even trying to say here? Full approval to cut me off and talk about it, because I got a lot of stuff here.
I'll interrupt you if I need to.
As much as I love talking, sometimes I don't want to talk for 5 minutes straight about a recap because I got too many good things that I'm trying to get to here. Let's start off with the Portland Open. That was the biggest event of the weekend. The first time we have seen an Elite Plus event. We had some discussion about what is an Elite Plus event, how do the points work. In the words of Ben, I'm just going to say, quote, more points. If we want to talk about it later, I'll dive into it. But that's as simple as that. The winner gets 150 Disc Golf Pro Tour points compared to 100 for a normal elite event. It's the same amount of a major, but it's grouped with the elite events. That's kind of the quick summary. Kristen Tatar takes it down in FPO. It's her 5th win on the season from majors, elite, and silver events. She now has 5 wins from 8 starts. That's 63%. Incredible. it is only the 9th best win percentage we have seen from tour events in a single season when you have a minimum of 5 starts in a season. But it's the best of anyone since 2017 when Paige Pierce won 14 out of 19. That's 78%. Of course, a lot of the season left, but Kristen Tatar putting on an incredible pace as we know her to do. Saya Nanda gets a 2nd place finish. It's her first ever elite or major podium. Her previous best was 7th at 2022 U.S. Women's, but she, of course, has the silver win earlier this year down in Texas at the Innova Open at Texas State's, and then also had a podium last weekend at the Cascade Challenge, or the weekend before. I don't know how we'll refer to 2 weekends ago, maybe. And she is now 5th in the Statmando Power Rankings, but she's still 20th in the official rankings. I did want to mention that just because that's more of a stable system, so she's working her way up. Owen Scoggins finishes on the podium yet again. That's her 10th of the season in just in FPO on tour. She's only a week removed from an FP40 major victory at Tim Selinsky's U.S. Masters. What we know, and a lot of people question her on this long course, but I have some thoughts that we can get to later when we recap the course. Also tied with Owen Scoggins in 3rd place is another Masters player, Juliana Korver. We'll have her on the show later today. She won the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters the weekend before in FP50. So we saw the FP40 winner and the FP50 winner both get podiums in FPO at an Elite Plus event. I think there's so much to that, and I have some more Juliana Korver stats I want to get to. But Nick, do you have any thoughts on 2 Masters players, 2 Masters winners getting on the podium?
2 players who we don't consider them elite distance players. They're just very good at what they do when it is controlling shots and hitting putts. Juliana, not as much in the putting category compared to what we would say with Owen, but Juliana, her shots were very well hit on the drives and upshots. She was dialed in those, and she was making putts more so than I think we have kind of seen in the past. And this was something that we've talked about Juliana, when she kind of took a little hiatus from the game, was a lot of the putting struggles that she was having, but was able to just stay in the fairway and make those clean up shots, a very clean drive. She was in the same distance. I remember watching hole 18, that good drive. She was the first one, and she just let out a great rip. So definitely pretty awesome to see those 2 players. And Owen has just been having an incredible season, whether it's on a longer course or a shorter course. She's just doing incredible. Course record, final round, 10 down, which I think beat the previous course record by 3 strokes, is pretty freaking awesome.
So I'm back. Did you miss me?
We did. Very quiet.
Yeah, we'll see. It's very quiet. We'll see. That's a nice compliment, I think. I'm not sure. We'll see if Adam jumps into our green room here soon. If not, we'll just keep going. But you asked about Juliana, and a question came up during the rounds. And I ask questions, and then I get shot down by Statmando saying, Matt, you're way off. Here's the numbers. So I hope that happens. But what do you think? What am I missing when I ask this question? Is this the most impressive performance by someone from that generation of golfer? Now, that's kind of really generic, kind of that generation. But add in Ken Climo or anybody else, and I'm talking today, like let's say this season or last. Has there ever been a performance this good? And had she taken it down, would there have been any question?
I mean, we've seen other Masters players do incredibly well at a lot of big events. I mean,
I don't necessarily mean Masters. I mean, I guess it's that generation, but I just mean like those who came up. She's a 5-time world champion, took almost 15 years off. That's kind of what I mean. So does anything stand out to you?
Well, I think just kind of her come back into the game. And it was funny too, because I think about a month or 2 ago, there was an article talking about how, this 5-time world champion was going to take more of kind of a step back. Juliana does a lot of commentary nowadays. She is involved in kind of the media outset of disc golf right now. And, but to still come back and have great events like this is pretty stellar in and of itself. And like I said, I will just keep saying it throughout the night though, on a course like this, where we don't really look at her as one of those power players. So to have the outcome that she did on a course like this is, like I said, pretty awesome in and of itself.
Was that the FPO recap, Evan?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention that Juliana Korver now has a podium in FPO Elite and Major events each of the last 3 seasons. She took a gap from playing FPO events on tour. She was playing some local ones and started playing some Masters, but took a gap from 2006 until 2021 from FPO elite and major events. Like 15 years without playing any events. She was incredibly dominant up until 2006, and then just didn't play. And now she has a podium each of the last 3 seasons. I think it's really incredible. And that's all I got from FPO if we want to move on.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because we got Adam HAMMES in the green room, and I just think it'd be worth our time to get him in. He's giving us his time, and we can catch up with more of the recap when we drop him, if that's cool.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, let's go ahead and give this a try. I don't have the cool music tonight, Adam, because I'm in Detroit and I am remote and I'm like remoting everywhere, everything I'm doing. And you're remote, you're driving. The world's a crazy place. But let's bring in Adam like this. 3, 2, 1. Boom. There he is. Just like that. Magic. What's up, Adam?
How we doing?
Good. How about yourself? You feeling high on life right now?
A little bit. Me and Anthony are currently driving to Montana for the Missoula tournament, Zootown.
How far is the drive?
It's about from Portland. It was like 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
We have like four and a half left.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
Not too bad.
You're not the one driving. No, driving's okay sometimes, but
I had to do some social media stuff, so I put Anthony behind the wheel.
Good point, dude. When you win something, this is your second time elite, at least.
Third.
Sorry, what did I miss?
Masters Cup in 2021 and MVP Open, and then
was an elite.
I also got to stop, and we can't forget about Resistance Disc, the silver event in 2021 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I was trying to classify elite, but they reclassified the other. Now, anyways, long story short, every time you win, what goes through your mind of like, hey, I got to capitalize on this? Is it things like social media, sponsors, podcasts, or do you not even think about any of it?
I haven't really thought about it much since yesterday. I'm starting to slowly respond to all the text messages and Instagram DMs and comments, trying to like as many as I can and just engage. But no, I mean, jumping on the Nick and Matt show is good, and maybe Smashbox and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Take them all in. We appreciate it, Adam. We appreciate it. So from your perspective, and I think I might have seen a comment somewhere or a post you just made, literally, you said something about like stressful moments. How did this tournament play out for you in a scale of like 1 to 10 stress related? I mean, you've had a lot of tournaments, but this one's got to be pretty high.
It was definitely a 10. Goose just kept birdieing. He couldn't. There was no stopping him. As soon as I had 2 pars, he would get 2 birdies and tie it up. And then he had the unfortunate spit out, so I had 1-stroke lead going into 17, and I bogeyed. I did not get up and down from a pretty simple spot, and I gave him 2, and I counted myself out. A lot of people did. My grandpa actually texted me and said, "We're really proud of you. Like, move on to the next one," and stuff like that. And then he sent a text right after and was like, "Oh wait, disregard that last text. Like, oh my gosh, you won." So I think the whole world counted me out, especially after that roller that went OB on 18, and I don't know, to make that putt. And I don't really remember. I kind of blacked out for that putt.
Did you count yourself out after that roller attempt?
Oh, absolutely. I was sitting in the grass with my arms in my head. I don't know. I thought it was done. I didn't think there was any chance that Goose would not get up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a clutch moment, though. I like the door was cracked open and you had to do it. Those are the moments we live for in sports. And I'll remember that. This will go down and be talked about in disc golf when those moments get talked about. So that's awesome, man.
When you decided to throw that roller, did you think roller was the best play to get the best putt, or were you thinking that's the best way to get up there, and if I go OB, that's okay? Thinking kind of like Simon last year. He went OB as well, but put the pressure on Garrett, and Simon was able to walk away with the victory.
I think I was like probably like 430 out, 450 out, somewhere in there. And the wind was swirling. It got pretty windy at the end there. So, I mean, my roller game all week was pretty solid. So I was like, yeah, the roller's probably going to be my best bet to, at least have a chance. If it goes OB, it's going to go OB right. And the flex shot just seemed too hard in that situation. I didn't really like the angle, and, the wind wasn't good at all. So I just went with the roller, and it came out of my hand, pulled, and turned over, and it just wasn't good at all. It was very far off of what I was trying to do. I was luckily it rolled far enough to get a putt. And yeah, it was kind of a toss-up on what shot to throw there.
And then making the putt, you have those feelings afterwards where it's like, okay, now I just made that. I got the birdie still. I'm putting the pressure on. And then watching Aaron eventually take a par on the hole. Now you guys are going into a sudden death playoff. What is kind of your mentality going into that?
As soon as we missed that putt low, obviously I knew the playoff was about to happen. I walked right to the score tent with my head down. I didn't look at anyone. I didn't acknowledge anything. And I walked straight to hole one. Same thing, head down. Didn't look at anyone. No fist bumps. Nothing. Went straight into hole one with the same, mentality. There's playoff holes. You gotta throw a good tee shot and get up and down. You have to birdie because if you par, you're gonna lose. So, yeah, I just kept my head in it and went to hole one and did what I had to do.
Yeah, it was epic. We were all watching it. I'm not gonna say names, and if my kids are watching live at home right now, I don't want to embarrass them. But so I'll just say generally, I think there was a lot of emotions, literally like tears on the line with these players at the top of this event. You guys are putting on a show. How did you talked about the unfortunate spit out? Just give us a quick response. What do you think about baskets in general? Like, should there be a standard? Do you think that was like a basket issue or a putt issue? Like, how'd you feel that putt on 16 for Aaron?
It's a putt that should never come back out. Those baskets probably shouldn't be Disc Golf Pro Tour standard. I think we can do a little bit better. It is the title sponsor, and they get to choose what basket goes in, and us players have to deal with it. So at the end of the day, we're all putting on them, and we all have to, use them. But at the end of the day, I don't personally think that the Disc Golf Pro Tour should use those as a standard basket. Maybe hopefully someday we can get a standardized basket that's just one model, and we see it at every single event. We don't have to put on 3 or 4 different companies' baskets.
I think we're actually going to talk about that later in the show, but thanks for your response there. Hey, and speaking of, did you have any putts? I didn't see every putt of the whole tournament. Did you have any come out?
I did not have any spit outs this week.
Okay.
Surprising.
Awesome. Surprising, he says. Talk to us a little bit just about the courses in general. I mean, Glendoveer is a place that we've been the last couple of years, but now they open it up into kind of, I think, a Glendoveer East and a Glendoveer West, 2 different courses on the same property. What do you think about the changes going into this year?
I thought they were great. The first course we played was much longer, much more difficult. There was 630-foot par 3s out there. It felt like every hole was a bonus birdie. So, 3 under wasn't a bad round out there. That's what I shot in round 2, and I still came back and won the tournament. But the other course is amazing. That's the one I prefer. It's the most fun. It's the most fair. I think most of the field has a pretty good chance, of scoring well on it, close to double digits, if not a little bit less. Yeah, it just sets up a little nicer for us, and I think 95% of the field would say they liked the second course we played a little bit more. But either way, they're both very, very well designed, and there's a lot of very fair holes. OB and Mandos were placed in very good spots, bunkers. It makes you think. It's not an easy course. Course is.
And we've kind of seen the Pro Tour at certain events kind of go into this more open style golf course, disc golf courses that we're playing on right now. Do you like that? I mean, you're a player who's won the Santa Cruz Master Cup and Maple Hill, 2 more defined disc golf courses. Now picking up a big win on a golf course. What is this? I mean, do you enjoy playing these kind of courses if they are designed well, or do you still prefer the woods?
Obviously, I still prefer the woods a little bit more for disc golf. That's what I grew up on. Throwing discs in the woods is more fun when you're forced to throw a specific shot shape. But courses like Glendoveer, I mean, when the Disc Golf Pro Tour designs, a good ball golf course for us, they're really fun. Glendoveer especially, I can't think of a better ball golf, disc golf course on tour or in the country. It is probably the best facility for disc golf.
And one more real quick, Matt. Now, is that based on mainly just the actual property in and of itself, the way that it was designed? But adding in, you were saying they added in Mandos. Do the Mandos kind of help out making the course play a specific way?
Yes, it keeps it like a general fairway. There's a couple holes where you could go, 400 or 500 feet straight left and not be punished. And they just put a couple Mandos in there to keep you honest and keep you in the middle. So add a little extra difficulty. And I think, I didn't see a Mando I didn't like out there. They were all pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was going to say, from the fans' perspective, Adam was saying how nice the course was, but from the fans' perspective, it's equally as, I think, as fun to watch. It looks beautiful. It doesn't feel like you're out in a golf course, but it kind of has this perfect hybrid. I saw somebody post, I think it was Anthon. I'm just going to throw his name out there. He said something about this is like a bomber's course. Like, you have to throw far. I think he did give credit to the views, and it's an amazing property, but he said, like, that's who this was for. You are a far thrower. We've seen it. We've seen you bomb some out there, and I think we rank you in that class. Do you feel that way? Like, it's like that's who the course was built for.
Distance and accuracy is definitely an advantage out here. When you can throw, fairway drivers where some people might be throwing a distance driver. Definitely on the first course, distance was key. I mean, there was a 630-foot par 3, and even Anthony was having trouble putting him in the circle in practice. And did you get birdie in the tournament? Yeah, I mean, even the furthest thrower in the world isn't reaching some of those holes. So I would say definitely an advantage on the first course. The second course, not so much, but accuracy at 450 was the ticket out there.
Wow, you heard it here. Furthest thrower in the world, Anthony Barella. I mean, we didn't make that take, but Adam did. So we'll let that one roll. Maybe we'll retitle our episode tonight to say longest thrower in the world joins the show driving. What do you think, Evan? You got anything?
Yeah, Adam, I wanted to. Oh, did we lose him?
Temporarily, it has gone white, and he did drop, but I bet you he tries to get back in. We'll see.
All right. Well, we'll hold off on a second.
Oh, I can hear him. Let's see. This is okay. Well, we got one more question for you from Evan, I think.
All right, Adam, your 2021 was spectacular. Like we said, you had 2 elite wins and a silver. I'm looking at like your scoring, and you were averaging like 7.7 birdies per round. But then let's talk about 2022. You struggled a little bit more, less birdies. You're averaging. I think you finished outside the top 20 more often than you finished inside the top 20. But then we come into this season, and you have a good tournament at Waco. Unfortunately, didn't get the win, but then you come out to Portland and you get the win. How does 2023 feel compared to 2022, which felt compared to 2021?
It's definitely more of a grind. The competition's gotten significantly stiffer in 2 years. Obviously, those 2021 wins were not easy, and I don't know. It's surreal. You have 2 wins and life's moving really fast, and then it slows down. You don't have a win for a while, then you win again. You're back on top. It's crazy. I don't really know what to feel yet. We still have a long season ahead. I can't really compare this season to that 2021 season yet. But hopefully I can towards the end of the year if I can pick up another win.
Which one do you think in your head is a bigger win, the Elite Plus event at the Portland Open or the Maple Hill MVP Open?
I gotta say this new Elite Plus event.
Okay.
With how
that's the way it goes down.
feel bigger.
He feels like it's a little bigger. We're catching you there, Adam, but you are breaking up just a little bit. We heard that you think it's bigger. I think we'll get one more sentence out of you. So if you want to say anything before you go, we'll let you go, but it's been good.
No, I mean, we got this 4-hour drive left, and I appreciate you guys letting me jump on the call quick. Hopefully the service was okay. Thanks for all the questions.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Ask just really quick. Ask AB how he thinks his tour is going so far this year.
Say it again. Sorry.
Ask AB how he's enjoying the tour so far this year. Does he, feel like he's having a good season? Just, big switch to Discraft this year. Ask him a little bit about that.
AB, how you feeling?
This season's gone pretty well for me, but I just haven't got a win yet, and that will be the cream of the crop when I get a win.
All right.
That's all I'm looking for.
This is Matt. I know you're driving, and I picked you to win. What was 2 events ago?
OTB?
No, it was the silver.
Cascade Challenge?
Yes, thank you. I picked you, man. You didn't underperform too bad. You did pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just all about stringing together 3 or 4 good rounds in a row. I just always sneak in that 10, 20 round that makes me lose by 2 or 3 every week. So, well, I guess I lost by 9 this week, but it's all right.
4 rounds, it's tougher, you know?
Well, again, thank you guys for joining. Safe travels for sure, and we'll catch up when you guys are back up here for the playoff event at Maple Hill.
Awesome. Right. I can't wait. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Peace out. Peace out. Bye. All right. So
Yeah, not me.
The Nick and Matt show plus Evan, bringing all the cool stats.
That's all good. I feel the love in other ways.
Yeah, I was just going to say, usually when people talk about the Nick and Matt show, to me, they're like, so how'd you get Evan? He's really made the show something special. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, well, it's always nice. Remember, if you're the main host or the 2 main hosts, you always get the least amount of love. That's why Ben gets the most love. I like a little bit more, and then everyone has to find a reason to hate on the people who talk the most. So I stay quiet just enough so people generally like me, and it's only rarely that someone's like, man, that guy with the stats sucks.
Yeah.
Is that how it works? I guess I have a mute button.
God, yeah.
I'll just mute my microphone, and maybe people.
It's always the main, any podcast, any show. It's always the main person who's doing all the talking that people just hate.
All right. Well, we'll just get our subscriber count through the roof. Then I'll just check out. Peace out. Some of you are like, yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, no, I made the show.
Yeah.
But okay. So I saw in the chat, someone's like, hey, they're advertising guests that aren't coming on. No, we actually didn't advertise a guest that is coming on. I mean, we had Adam on, and that was unadvertised. We are going to actually have on Juliana Korver, as we did advertise. So that's cool. You got a bonus guest in there. JK, I don't think I'll call her that to her face. Maybe. I don't know. We throw JK putters at home, but Juliana Korver will be on in approximately 40 minutes.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think there was a lot of interesting things we heard from Adam, but let's get back to the recap. I think you can jump over and finish that up, and then we can take more topics.
Yeah, let's stick on Adam. Like we were kind of saying in the intro, it's his 3rd elite win. Had Masters Cup and MVP Open in 2021. I think interesting enough, Masters Cup was a PDGA National Tour, and the last year those existed. MVP Open being a Disc Golf Pro Tour elite event. He also, like I said, has a Disc Golf Pro Tour silver win, and now he has a Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Plus win, the only MPO player to ever have a Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Plus win. Of course, the caveat being this was the first. But that's really cool. He has only one of each. I also like, this is a kind of a deeper poll. He's from Wisconsin, landlocked state, although has beautiful lakes and whatnot. He has only won on states that border the ocean, twice in Oregon, once in California, once in Massachusetts. So he's going to win like USDGC next, or somewhere in North Carolina. I don't know what else we got left. Not Worlds in Vermont. That's landlocked. So sorry, Adam, you have no chance. That's of course a joke. I'm sure he can win anywhere. I did want to cover a little bit more into his 2021 season. He top 20%, 77% of the time. His average rating was 1037 across major elite and silver events. Jumped to 2022. He was at 45% top 20s, and his average round rating dropped to 1027. So 10 rating points worse, and his top 20% about 30% worse. Now he's rebounded a little bit. He's up to 55% and 1029. We have seen ratings be a little bit less, it feels like. And like Adam was saying, it's a lot harder to finish well on the tour with how competitive it is. He was one of the main people that talked about an underwhelming 2022. I didn't want to quite word it that way, but I'm glad he answered in the way he did. And he's been looking really solid this year on what is an absolutely crowded Disc Golf Pro Tour field. Going down the leaderboard, I mean, we got to mention Goose, Aaron Gossage, went to a playoff. This is Aaron Gossage's 2nd playoff of his career. I think both just heartbreaking losses with Worlds last year and now Portland Open. Mentioned a couple spit outs, but I think the most notable part was he had the lead going into hole 18, had about 180 feet, I would guess, maybe 200. One tree in his way, uphill basket, but an elevated pole. He goes with the forehand, which people question because there's a tree on the left side, ends up being like 40 to 50 feet short, I would guess. I don't know the exact number. Adam HAMMES has to putts first. he puts the pressure on because he made the putt. If Aaron Gossage made this putt, he would go on to win. If he missed it and then got the next one, it would go to playoff. Of course, we know that's what happened because Aaron Gossage missed that putt, unfortunately. It was low by like at least a foot, it looked like. And then we go to a playoff hole, and it went 2 holes, 1 hole? I think it went 2 holes.
Was it
Oh
2?
my goodness, I'm already forgetting.
No, it was 1 hole. It was the first hole.
Okay, it was a par 4.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. I was busy doing so many stats, so I honestly don't remember too much, just knowing what's happened and then coming up with stuff. But he had a tough putt, of course, circle 2 look for the tie because HAMMES was a little bit better position, I believe, and he didn't get that one either. It was a tough putting weekend, but I'm not here to knock Aaron Gossage because he's putting himself in the position to possibly win, and that's what you need to do in today's game. I think we've seen a lot of heartbreaking losses, and you can include OTB Open last year, or just a couple weeks ago or a month ago, as another one where he could have won and it just fell out of his fingertips. But I think I've heard the what am I trying to say? The comparison to Eagle Man in the late 2010s, where he was looking absolutely incredible, was in positions to win and just couldn't do it, faltering in the final round. I think this is kind of similar thing. Gossage is putting himself in the position to win. He's just not getting it done, but he's building experience and he's an incredible player. I have no doubt Aaron Gossage will win. And out of players who haven't gotten a win yet, you still got to pick him as the next to win. So, if you guys have any thoughts on Gossage.
Yeah. So during the live stream, I have the benefit of watching with my sons, and they're starting to bring their own takes on things. And we asked, is this the player that you want to be taking a clutch putt at the end of a playoff or going into hole 18? Is this the player? And everyone's like, no. Gossage right now, it's not, I don't feel like, this is a question we always ask in these scenarios. Was it a choke? I feel like if I had to say yes or no, I'm only going partial choke because I feel like 18 was not like a choke. I feel like the grass really held it a lot harder than he thought it would. I don't think that was a choke play. The putt you could say maybe was, but that's not should it be a 9 out of 10 putt? Yeah, but it's not a gimme putt. It's elevated. I don't think it was full choke. But anyways, you have any thoughts on it, Nick, for as far as Aaron goes? I think he wants to win. He's close.
Yeah.
What do you think? Of course he wants to win.
All these guys want to win.
But I mean, he's close.
And he's been in such a position this year a couple times now. I mean, looking at OTB Open, he was in a great battle with Emerson Keith and then just kind of fell off the last 6 or 7 holes or so. And mainly due to the putting. Aaron's one of the best throwers in the world, has an incredible forehand. It's powerful. He's accurate. But coming down the stretch, those little shots that you should feel like you make 9 times out of 10 get that much harder when there's a lot on the line right there. I mean, look at Corey Ellis last year at the MVP Open. Was in a great position to get up and down on hole 18. Throws it too hard. Goes out of bounds. Simon wins from the chase guard. I mean, you put these players in these pressure moments. You kind of hope that Aaron's only going to get better from this and learning from these mistakes that, he's putting himself in the opportunity, which every other player in the world would say, I would love to just be in that scenario at all. And Aaron is consistently doing it. He's going to pop off one of these wins soon, I would say, in the 2023 season.
I would agree with that. And I to make the comparison, though, with Corey Ellis's MVP Open upshot that he threw too hard and went OB, I think that was a tougher shot than what Gossage had to do here. Gossage was a little bit further out, but I think much less scary OB, much more open. It is an elevated basket. But when you see Gossage line up for that, you're just like, obviously the pressure's high, and that is that's all the pressure. That's what makes the shot hard. If Gossage goes back to that exact spot and you're like, hey, here's 20 discs, park the hole. I think he would do it 20 times. I really do. It's just obviously the pressure's an area. And same with Ellis. He might've made that MVP Open shot, but that is a much tougher shot. But to move on with Corey Ellis, he finishes 3rd. He was right there in the thick of things. It was a 3-way race, pretty much just between those two for the final 4 or 5 holes. Corey Ellis had a chance. He threw a roller, went OB a little bit early. He threw a roller on his second shot, just like HAMMES did on the final hole. He went OB a little bit earlier, pretty much took him out of it. He did not go onto that playoff, but still had an incredible performance. This is Ellis's 5th podium in the last 3 seasons, 2021, 2022, and now this current season. That's tied with Aaron Gossage, actually, for the 2nd most podiums in that time frame without a win The player with the most podiums without a win in that stretch is Kevin Jones, who only has one more at 6. Kevin Jones, of course, has wins in the past, winning 2020 Tour Championship and 3 other elite and silver wins in his career. But I think that's really notable that Ellis and Gossage now are they're the next up who haven't gotten a win, I think, in MPO. Further down the leaderboard, just barely, James Proctor, who's on the final round lead card with them. He finishes 5th, his 14th top 10 on tour for Majors Elite and Silver. His first ever top 10 was at Masters Cup in 2015 before the Disc Golf Pro Tour even started. He's never had more than 2 in a single season until this year, and he now has 6 in this season. And 5 of those are at elite events, so it's not like I'm making this inflated stat because of silvers. He only has 1 top 10 silvers out of those. But I think the biggest name we'll have to talk about besides these is Nate Sexton, finishing 62nd, and his cash streak is now over. He missed the cut, had no chance at cash the final day. We knew this was coming soon. He was holding it on and kept on pushing it back, and we're like, it's gonna crack one of these days. He's been playing a few less events lately, but I have some stats to go for it.
Didn't we recently ask, like, if we thought, I think it was as a show, each of us answered, did we think like he was going to even make podium like the rest of the year from here on out? And I think some of us were a little bit, maybe it was me, I was like, I don't think so. I did not know it was going to miss cash at Portland Open. But anyways, that is epic. He made a post about it on social media that obviously says he's very proud of what he's accomplished. It's not like disc golf is over for him because of this. It was a pride thing. Yeah, it was well, he did talk about that last interview we had. He's like, there's a time and a place where you just do it. But anyways, I think we're still going to see a lot out of him, but this was a proud thing that he had to his name, and now he still has, and quite frankly, probably will always have.
I don't think this can be matched. And let me get into the numbers then. I shout out to Carl. He put this all together before round 3 when it was becoming a big narrative. Carl, he might be in the live chat. If he is, everyone say hi to him. If not, he'll probably be listening on a post. But from all PDGA events, it ended up being 264 events straight. This is continuous from March 2008. That's 15 years and change. We have seen some longer. Climo had a longer streak, I believe, although data is a little bit inconsistent because some events just didn't report cash at all, even though Climo might have won or still finished top 40%. But there's likely going to be higher from all PDGA events, but still 264 since March 2008. Wild. If we do majors, elite, and silver with including the Tour Championship, which does give everyone cash as far as we know, some years are a little bit inconsistent. 122 events. That started also in May 2000. That started back in May 2005. He hadn't missed an on tour one since Beaver State Fling was the start of that streak in 2005. He missed some non-PDGA ones in between, so that's why his PDGA streak started a little bit later. If we're just going to do standard, elite, and majors, so that excludes the Tour Championship, which pretty much pays out everyone who plays it, it's 117 straight events. The new active record, you guys might have seen us post about it or hear I think the DGN might have been talking about it, but can you guys guess who has the current MPO active streak?
Wait.
Longest active streak. Standard, elite, and majors.
Statmando has social media? What? Oh my goodness. People, I've been missing out. Hopefully you haven't. Go check out Statmando. They do post incredible stuff that everybody rips off and shares everywhere, which is cool for you. So who? Nick, who do you think?
So who currently now has the
longest active cash streak from standard, elite, and majors?
Gannonburr.
This is just at all, like in all of disc golf or current?
Current active streaks.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Gannon.
Your guess too, Matt?
Well, I saw some posts, but I think there might have been one above him, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah. Because I think it said Nate at the time was 100%, and then Kale was like 99.98.
Okay, so you saw something a little bit different. That was just best cash rate.
Gotcha.
So you could have missed cash in the middle of it. Like,
who is it, Evan?
Like 99 or 98.
All right,
but
it's someone. It kind of like it makes sense, but it's not who you'd guess. It's Joel Freeman.
Oh,
sorry,
right.
Nick. Sorry.
I was gonna say, let me look on the list, but then at the same time, Joel's not on there, so I wouldn't have guessed him,
remember that.
Yeah. Joel's. I mean, it's a volume stat to get that percentage, and Joel's just hasn't played enough. So even if like Paul McBeth, who's played almost 200 now, if he missed cash twice, that's once out of every 100. If Joel Freeman, I guess. it would be 100%. So I don't know where I'm going with that. It had to be a minimum number of events. So maybe there's a reason why. I actually don't know why Joe wouldn't be on that list that I mentioned now. I'm all confused. Maybe he missed cash to start. That's what it's got to be.
Okay.
So he might have missed 2 or 3 to start his career, and then he's gone into the streak. There's got to be a reason for it. I don't know it right this second. But I'll cover the list. This does need to be updated. They just posted the Portland Open cash, so we haven't got our side updated quite yet. So this is pre-Portland Open. So Nate Sexton was at 117. Joel Freeman didn't play it. He hasn't played since Jonesboro, but he's at 54. Gannon Burr will now jump up to 36 straight events. So that's tied for third with KJ Nybo, who doesn't play very much anymore, but he did cash at European Open in 2022, just last year. So it's still a fairly active cash streak. Kyle Klein is right behind with 35. This one will be interesting, and I think it's a good discussion point just to say out loud here, is we do consider DNFs to be missing cash for this. So like Eagle McMahon started the event, played, I think, a full round, and then because of his injury, which we can get into that soon too, he then withdrew. We consider that missing cash because he started. Kyle Klein was on the pages also DNFing, but he did not even throw a single hole, I believe. So it's kind of tricky there of when it kind of falls in. So we always default, because there's so many different scenarios. We always default to what the PDGA event page has. So if Kyle Klein is listed as a DNF after the event is submitted, and I can go check it out, he will be considered missing cash, unfortunately, but we're only as good as the data is. That's why having, good data as best possible is good.
I could see that one going either way. Like, we could debate it for like, hey, yes, include that or not. But
and there's different ways to go through all of it, because you can say, okay, now excluding DNFs, who is the best cash streak.
Yeah, true.
And you can always go back in different ways. I do think worth noting, just to cover FPO, the longest active streak, I say active with an asterisk because it's still ongoing, although some people argue active, you have to play within the last 2 years, 5 years, 12 months, whatever. But it's Carrie Berlagar. I always struggle with pronouncing her last name, Berlagar. She's at 49 straight events, although she hasn't cashed since 2010 United States Women's and FPO. Owen Scoggins and Missy Gannon are tied. They're both at 33 prior to Portland Open. Obviously Owen Scoggins cashed. I would assume Missy Gannon cashed. I think she was top 10 as well. So they'll both be up to 34, and they'll be the new active, I guess, say it twice, elite, standard elite in majors and FPO. Kristen Tatar is just nearby with 32. So she's right on the heels, but doesn't play as many events.
Pretty cool stat about Adam. $54 per throw.
Nice.
Nick,
Not
that
too
takes us back.
shabby.
That's way
a
back.
throwback to year one of the Nick and Matt show when Evan first kind of started coming into the scene. Just a cool little stat. I mean, eventually, I forget who. Is it Jeremy Colling still has the highest because of the 3-round USCGC?
Man, I'll have to look that up. Let us get into something else, and then I'll pull it up.
I feel like it is, but at the same time, I think soon enough we are going to see, with these Elite Plus events and the amount of money getting added into them, I think we are going to see a new leader in that category. But
yeah, it's definitely over $54. I think it was in the 70s. I think maybe we had one in the 80s last year. I don't know, but we'll feel it out, and if we have a good time when I'm not doing a recap, we can jump into that. I just got a couple. I think we're done with Portland Open here. I want to move on real quick. You mentioned Braden Sides winning the Tennessee State Disc Golf Championship. I have to mention it because Chris Dickerson lost this event. He doesn't lose in Tennessee very often. He actually had won this event 6 straight years prior, 2017 through all the way through 2022. He ends up finishing second to Braden Sides. The last time Chris Dickerson lost this, it wasn't to some Joe Schmo. It was to James Conrad. So good company to be in to beat Chris Dickerson at Tennessee State's. And it's also worth noting on the FPO side, we saw Natalie Ryan take home the victory. Of course, this is unrelated to the court ruling with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Remember when they came up with that ruling? I don't know how the best to word it, but it was for 8 tiers and below with
go check out
2
Disc
years
Golf
transition.
Yeah.
Yes. So she is, as part of the current PDGA rule, still eligible to play on all 8 tiers or below. She takes it down over Macy Villa-Diaz, who was the 2-time winner the previous 2 years. So we saw 2 streaks get broken in MPO and FPO, the Tennessee State Disc Golf Championships. But I think the second biggest event of the weekend has to be the Estonian Open over on the European Pro Tour. Most notable thing about it is going to be Paul McBeth playing his first European event of the season. He is playing a handful of events. I don't know the exact number, like 8 to 10 European events this year. A big push for him to have more presence in Europe, play new courses, experience new events. And I'm going to say it didn't start off too well for Mr. Paul McBeth. Of course, he's over there for more things than just on the course, but it wasn't the best weekend on the course for him. He ends up finishing 31st. It's his worst finish of his career outside the United States. His event rating as of now is 993. Of course, that's unofficial until ratings update, I believe, on the first or second Tuesday of every month. I always forget what that is exactly. His first sub 1,000 rated event in over a decade. And
well, this is something we were talking about a couple weeks ago. Now, when you drop the 962 and the 986, he averaged 1031 for the event.
My goodness,
that's not too bad. He averaged 1031.
He figured out my trick.
Yeah.
But I would have to pull up because we're gonna talk about Mari Vilman. But what did he average for the tournament? I have to pull it up real quick. I don't think I'm gonna get it in time before I continue.
That's
talking.
okay. Okay, well, you can pull it up if you want, or just wrap this up.
All right, you guys talk about Paul McBeth in Europe, and I'll pull it up real quick.
Or just anything, really.
Well,
I don't think.
I mean, noticeably the week prior to this event was out in Madrid, Spain, doing a Paul McBeth project, installing I think the first course out in that area. So pretty awesome in and of itself. But when it actually comes to the tournament play, did not have a great weekend, and I think we can all, the chat's been saying it the whole time, give a shout out to Joey Tamale, who did end up placing better by 6 places. He finished 25th. Joey's actually 1,008 rated. I did not know that.
So Joey, for those who don't know, is employed has been at different times, HAMMES Productions and DGN Live. He's a camera guy. He's also did the producing of, what was it called on HAMMES where they did the Simon, like off the course docu-series deal. That was cool.
On tour?
No, it wasn't on
I don't
tour.
think he would have. That was Corey Moore.
No, Finding the Lines.
No, it was something like that, maybe. But anyways, he helped produce
Joey
that.
did my player profile. He was one of the people who did it when I was on Waco.
He went out and outperformed Paul. Now, my take on Paul is that he's just trying to be relatable. I've never felt more relatable to Paul than this weekend. It was like, man, what a guy. But in all seriousness, I think I texted, I won't say what Evan's response was, but I said, hey, there's an anomaly every now and then for all of us, you know? And what did you say, Evan? Do you remember?
I honestly don't. What did I say?
Oh, you said something like, but like we don't have 5 or 6 world champion rings.
Yeah, exactly. There's different standards. Like I chaotic disc golfer. I have terrible weekends all the time.
Yeah.
I don't have 6 world titles. So
well, at some point, and the thing is, you'll never know. You will not know until history is written, meaning he hangs up his disc golf shoes or discs or bag or whatever to look back and see where the crest was. Like, you won't know. So maybe this is just a little downturn and he's still going to hit another peak. But like, it makes you wonder. He even made a post. He said 20 years of doing this. I know it doesn't come overnight. And it's like, well, let's see what he's got in him still to keep going. He's not washed up. He's a high performer, and I was going to ask HAMMES this and others. We always do. The Pro Tour is getting so much harder to win that I feel like I'm seeing players now make positive posts about top 10 or top 15. Brody did that. Top 10, someone else just recently did that. Players are now starting to have that as a badge of pride, which I think is really telling. It used to be like, I'm horrible. I got 8th place, you know? So I think the times have changed. Winning is going to be another thing. If Paul, he's definitely had an off season, underperforming season for his standards. But if he can come back and start placing top 10 and everything, it'll feel weird for Paul, but I think it would still be great performances.
I'm also like not going to truly knock the player who has finished first or second at PDGA Pro Worlds for 10 straight years in a row, or 10 straight occurrences. Of course, we didn't have the Worlds in 2020. So until we see him suffer at Worlds or go a full season without a top 5, let's say, I have to agree with your assessment that everyone does have an anomaly. Of course, I say that in joking spirit. But we'll see what he has in the rest of Europe. You know, you could also chalk it up to jet lag. You chalk it up to just getting used to the feelings out there.
Absolutely.
I mean, Finns and I think Estonians they're pretty good at knowing English, so he's able to get around and do stuff. But maybe just getting dinner is incredibly hard because you don't know the language. Those things can all be tough on a person. So
he won worlds after missing cash at that course, however many months prior. It's like,
Yep.
it's something's off. He's working on it. It'd be interesting to get his opinion on what's going on there. But he's doing great things with his foundation as well. A lot of great things for sure.
Yep. And before I move on to the winners of the Estonian Open, I do want to say this was a European Pro Tour event, which is not the Euro Tour, the PDGA Euro Tour, which gives out essentially silver points. This is a separate tour. It started last year. It's kind of doing what the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing, mainly in the US, of course, going over to Europe now this year, but they're doing it just in Europe. I think they had like 8 events last year, and they have about the same schedule for this year, and they do live broadcasts on Disc Golf Stream is what they call it. Very similar, a few years behind what the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing. The PDGA Euro Tour, you could make the analogy, it's like the PDGA National Tour in the US, of course, a little bit different, run by PDGA Europe. But that is now the partnership with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, where they're doing DGN live coverage of those Euro Tour events, and though it's select will also count towards the same as a silver event would. So Paul McBeth's going to play some of those too. I don't know if he's playing any more European Pro Tour events, but this one was a European Pro Tour, so he'll get European.
I don't think he's playing anymore now. He's like, that's nope.
No, he's got what it looks like is Euro Tour number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it looks like for the most part they're back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah. Okay.
And then number 6 being the PCS Sula Open, and then the one after that is the European Open. So there's still 7 more events.
And I believe it's just called the PCS Open this year because I think it's moving away from the Sula course. But I don't maybe
PCS Open.
Yeah.
No,
okay. Just catching you there. Hey, I heard that multiple other places, so now it's ingrained in my head. But so to cover the winners of this Estonian Open event, because it was exciting, this was the second European Pro Tour event of the season. Mari Vilman takes it down in MPO. He also won the first European Pro Tour event of the season, which I believe was the Copenhagen Open. Let me just check that real quick. Yes, the Copenhagen Open in Denmark. Now we saw the Estonian Open in Estonia. He also won the Helsinki event on the Prodigy Disc Pro Tour, which is like the Finnish national tour, just the previous week. So he now has won 3 events, having an incredible start to his 2023 season. He becomes the first 2-time MPO winner on the European Pro Tour. Well, we saw the whole tour exist last year, and we saw many different winners. I believe like Nicholas Antila won an event, but of course he's spending much of his time in the US too. I think Lauri Lehtinen won, and a few other winners. He has now won both this year, looking absolutely fantastic. At Stamanda, we have an international ranking system, which is just, it's similar to our official rankings, but it's only events outside the US. So like Eagle McMahon got points for winning the European Open last year. That was the biggest international event of the season. Most points are up based on field strength. Mari Vilman is now number 1 in those international rankings. So of course, there's other international players who are mainly playing in the US. I mean, you could call Simon Lazat, but also like Nicholas Antila, Albert Tom, those players, and Kristen Tatar, of course, on the FPO side. Those players are mainly playing in the US, so it's a different ranking system, kind of a little bit confusing to understand that I get, but it's still a way to notice non-US events because we're generally overpowered by the US having the strongest fields. So that's very cool to see him take that number 1 spot in FPO. Oh, go ahead,
Well,
Nick.
he also, and you might have just said this as I was kind of looking at it, but when I'm reading his PDGA page, he actually won the European Pro Tour Estonian Open Monday qualifier.
Yes.
So he qualified the week of the event and then went on to actually win the event. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you know what's crazier? The FPO winner also got entry. She finished second, but got entry because of it. So I don't know how they do registration. I'm not too sure about that, but it is a really cool thing that I mean, we saw it, I think most notably with Champions Cup, where there's a lot of fantastic players who ended up being in this qualification. Exactly. So European Pro Tour is having the same thing, whether it was a registration thing or just Estonian Open. I don't know. Mari Vilman, he's been a solid player, but he's new to this very, very good player, I'll say. So it could be that he didn't have a high enough standings last year if they have some sort of tour card system. I am unaware of that, but it is very cool that we saw two Monday qualifier entries both taking it home. But let's cover the FPO winner. This is going to be tough to pronounce, but I think it's Tile Tumsalu. That's my guess. Let me know if that's not what it is. But she wins. It's her second PDGA win of her career of any division. She only cashed in 3 PDGA events prior, totaling $379 total. Nick, I know you don't make a lot of money in cash, but you make more than that. So I'm sorry, had to go there.
I know you don't cash.
Matt might even have that much cash in his slim.
My pro winnings are like $125.
All right. My pro
but I've only played like 1 or 2 pro events ever. So let's keep it.
Of course, tomatoes, with different divisions in different parts of the globe, and I believe this is all in USD. I would assume United States dollar. From this win, she earns $930. Again, I'm assuming USD, so almost triple the amount that she got from the European, from her previous events. She was ranked 199th in the world by the StatMando rankings before this event. It was her first week ever in the ranking system too. We don't have every player that plays MPO, FPO, but we did add her in and was ranked 199 to start. She has now jumped up all the way to 138 thanks to that win.
Not too shabby.
So that is so much value that you just added to our show. That's granted, we just brought in Adam HAMMES in the middle of that, but that could be the most packed stat intro that we've ever had. So that's pretty cool. There's a few questions I had that could get us prepped here. We're going to have Juliana in about 5 or 10 minutes. I already asked you about her. Is that the most impressive performance we've seen from that generation? I don't know the answer to that. The chat was answering that. But then I want to go to Sai Ananda. Breakout year, definitely. She's obviously a great player and has probably been doing that for a while, but not on tour. So when I think of Sai now, I'm going, is she the real deal? And everybody has a performance, and I don't mean to this isn't a belittling thing. But like Stacy Haas brought the Open at Tallahassee, but has not shown up almost anywhere else since then. Now, a top 15, top 20, good. That's fine. She should be proud of her efforts. But my point is she's not placing podium or pushing for the wins. But Sai does it, and you think, oh, is this going to be one of those players? But then she's here, and you're seeing her execute shots at a very high level against the world's best disc golf athletes. And so that's my question. Is she the real deal? And then I'm still asking the question about Kristen Tatar. And I'm just posing this out there for people to think about, or even in the chat answer. You would think by this point, I would already have my answer, but I'm starting. I'm slow for me to turn the ship here just to say that Kristen Tatar is the best dominant player, will win everything, has all the skills, but it's the consistency. Because I keep asking the question, is she the most talented FPO player? I've asked this a few weeks ago. But talent is such an interesting thing, because if you did a talent show, skill shot challenge, I feel like you're going to see other players outperform her on skill shots. I really believe it. But by skill, I mean trick shots or special highs or flips or all these things, right? Is she the most skilled at competition? Absolutely. By far. I'm going to answer that right now. She is consistent. She has her game plan. She executes it.
She is the most talented at golf shots.
Absolutely.
Golf shots.
And so she's going to keep winning until others either fix their game plan or just execute on their consistency. So good job for her. She is the real deal. I just think it's interesting to see there's other more explosive players. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, there definitely is. I mean, no doubt that there's players like Ella Hansen who can absolutely crush a disc, and with kind of minimalistic effort, minimal effort for her throw, she just absolutely crushes a disc. You could say that Owen Scoggins is a better putter. You could say that
I don't know. Not after this
weekend. Forehand, but
Kristen was nasty. Kristen was nasty putting, and it's so effortless. Here's what I'll just finish on. I'll just finish on this topic. We got an important guest get just about ready to come in, but to the point I'm trying to make is that Ella might be more explosive, right?
Mhm.
Or Paige, or pick a handful, even Holland Handley lately, Evan.
Mhm.
I guess my take that I'm trying to make here is, how long is Kristen Tatar going to be the top reigning, always the one that you're going to pick? How long? Because if Ella puts it together, if Holland puts it together, if all these players that are starting to be that more explosive power, right? That is going to be the next generation. And I don't mean that by age wise, but the next generation of player that is going to be the top, that they have everything, all the distance, all the everything.
So if Ella and Holland, let's say they're right here, and they
Yeah.
slowly, keep working on their game, and they increase. Now Kristen is right here. Does she keep working on her game and kind of like, does she keep
Hopefully.
going up, or are we saying that she's going to stay stagnant with how she is? Because I think she dominates easily for the next 3 to 5 years.
Wow,
If she
that's a
stays,
big take.
barring any major injury, anything like that, her game is so silky smooth that her mess ups are so different compared to other mess ups.
So
You know what I
5
mean?
years from now, does she have 5 more world champions and a 6 before Paige does?
I think she wins 3 out of the next 5.
Okay. Well,
Because then you can look at it, take it like Ricky says it. Oh, it's just one tournament. You know what I mean?
I know.
You can take it like that, but at the same time, yeah, like anyone can have that great week. We've seen it happen year after year after year. Anyone can have that great week and become the world champion. Now, I do think that it's the most prestigious event in our sport. Same thing with the USDGC. But yeah, I definitely think 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5. I think it's very realistic for Kristen to do that.
I think that's a really good thought exercise to say, how many times will she win worlds in the next 5 years? Because like, it feels like you could say, yeah, 5 out of 5 is easy.
You could say 5
that's
out of 5 easy.
That's so incredible, because she's only won 5 out of 8 this year, which is an incredible win percentage, over 50%, but she still has lost 3 times. Since you go to worlds, like, she could easily, like, if she goes 63% at worlds the next 5 years, that's not 5 out of 5. That's, well, pretty much 3 out of 5.
I just want to say, sorry, I just want to say I'm so excited, literally so excited that FPO has gotten to this place. I do not mean any offense to FPO, but it didn't used to be this exciting, because there was 1 or 2 dominant players constantly, Paige and Katrina, of the past 10 years, right? It's like, we're wanted more, and now we're like, look at this. There's a lot of FPO players in contention.
Well, I'll jump in it.
In fact, our next guest, we're almost there. We're almost there.
Yeah, it depends on your
Juliana.
definition of excitement too, because I'm going to channel my inner Han Macbeth here and say, it's just how you see exciting. You might see dominance as so exciting. You might have seen Elaine King, then Juliana Korver, then Des Redding, then Valerie Jenkins, and then Paige Pierce and Katrina Allen dominating. That is so exciting, and that's what's so cool about seeing it. Or you see the age where any winner can come from any weekend to be exciting. It's all up to the person. But I will say on Kristen Tatar, Matt, you said effortless, and I think that is the biggest thing. When you watch her play, she makes it look so easy, and it's fascinating to watch. And her entire game feels like an A or A minus, but you could argue that maybe nothing is quite an A plus, as in the best in the field. You could take a player and say, let's say you get Owen Scoggins's putting, you get Paige Pierce's distance, add in Ella Hansen or Holland Hanley's distance. You get all these different players. You get Haley King's forehand. I think I like it. You can make a better player with the players we have today. But obviously that's you got to Frankenstein it to put it together. But what Kristen Tatar also does so well is her mental game. She looks so calm and composed. It looks like she isn't phased. Maybe there's more things going on inside, but for the outside viewer, it looks so easy to her, and it's incredible to watch, and why she's got such a large, rabid fan base for her, watching her play, because it is that exciting to watch.
I kind of wish, and Nick, I'll give you the last thought on it. I kind of wish, and maybe I'm alone in this, there was more of this like killer instinct. Like, you want to see that like massive fist pumping and like not in your face kind of a thing. Like, I want to see that. But this is not golf. I get it. Like, she's so even keeled. And I think that's another one of her strengths. It's hard to tell what she's feeling, but man, you kind of want to just see this. You're dominant. Like, almost want to be like, act like it, but that's not her thing. And that's okay.
So my kind of thought with it, we're kind of talking about the dominance of Kristen Tatar. We've played 2 4-round big events so far this year. Champions Cup and now the Portland Open. Champions Cup, Kristen Tatar won by 14 strokes. This event, going into the final round, she was up by 6, ended up winning the tournament by 4 strokes. Now, that's not to say like she played a 968 rated final round or something like that. She did not have to do anything spectacular to win that tournament. But give Kristen 4 or 5 rounds at any tournament this year. I think I would say that any Elite Plus event or major, Kristen by far has the best chance of winning it right now. 4 or 5 rounds, Kristen, I think, dominates everyone.
I try to shout out different guests as they join the chat. Brody Smith says, when crowds get bigger and rowdier, players will show even more emotion. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Bringing it over to PGA golf, think of those rowdy holes and courses, right? The players get pumped up when they hit a big putt in those situations. We did see a pretty good showing from the gallery there in Portland. I think that's definitely going to help. And here's to his point. I actually think this is a great point. Thank you for contributing, Brody. It's weird to do a big fist pump in front of a smaller crowd. It's a great point. Like, you're like looking around, like who would like, let's go. Now, a little bit more of a quiet one to yourself. Obviously, we do that, but that's a great point. Any closing thoughts on this before we move into our next guest? Okay.
No, let's hear it.
All right, let's get into it. Now, usually we have special music, but I am in a hotel room and I'm trying to do things all myself without intern Ben, and he's off doing his vacation thing and I'm at work, but we can do it this way. We'll just welcome to the show, Juliana Korver, everybody. It's a little boring without the music, but here we go. Hey, how are you doing, Juliana?
There she is.
I'm well, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
This is fantastic. Now, can I get this out of the way? Do people, like your friends, call you JK, or are you all okay? No, they don't. Okay.
Only disc golfers call me JK.
Then I will not call. I said before the show, is it JK or no? I can't say JK. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I throw the putters, but I can't say it. So Juliana, impressive performance out of you. You have a lot of impressive performances in your career. We know that. We love the history of disc golf. You've returned after a significant amount of time off, and you've made podiums a few times now. Where do you rank your performance, even though it wasn't a win? Like, where do you rank this performance in your history of disc golf?
In the modern era, I think this is the most substantial.
And why so?
I had kind of just conceded the fact that I was not able to get to the lead card. And then not more than a couple events later, there I am. So it was a little bit of a slap in the face in a good way to not count yourself out and to keep pushing, because I committed to this year to being out there full time. And it was just a wonderful reality check that it's still a possibility. It's still within me if I can get it to come out and I can still show the world that I have game left.
Yeah.
I think we saw a post somewhere about you maybe getting more involved with media and maybe like starting to close out your competition. But do things like this inspire you, or is that set in stone that you're like, I'm on my way out?
I did mention that, my career trajectory is going to be changing, but I didn't mean to imply that I wasn't going to play anymore. I just meant that my goal, which this year was to make the Tour Championship finale, will change. And so that will not be a goal moving forward, regardless of, even if I would happen to podium a couple more times, that would not change in the future. This is my last year following the tour and trying to hit the minimum number of required stops in order to count for the tour finale.
Can I ask what led to that decision? Like, is it just what was it that led you to this decision of this is the year?
So I haven't yet had a year where I've had the minimum number of tournaments to count. I have always had fewer, and so I've had zeros, and not had it sort of an even playing field to try to get to that final tournament. So I just wanted 1 year where I had every column filled. But as far as why I wouldn't continue with that. I've had quite a few events this year where I haven't cashed, and it sort of feels fiscally irresponsible to remain out here when that is happening on, somewhat regular basis. So this particular finish is definitely a big shot in the arm, but no, it's not going to change. I mean, I knew that my window of opportunity playing with 20-year-olds was small, and I might be bumping up against the edge of that as we speak. But it's still fun for me, and I still feel like I've got enough skill that I can prove that I deserve to be out there.
If you had to kind of say this past weekend, with what your potential is in the sport, how close do you feel like you played to, let's say, playing your best disc golf out there?
I saw that this was my 5th best rated tournament of my career.
Wow.
And I do not feel that this was my 5th best tournament play. Not even close. I'm still not strong around the green. I did better this weekend than I have, but that is far from where my best was. And I'm not throwing as far as I used to. Maybe I'm throwing measurement-wise as far because I'm throwing faster discs than I did 25 years ago. But the strength that I had and the arm speed that I had, it's not what I used to have. So this is, how on earth do you put a number on that? I don't know, 75% of my former. I don't know. I'm definitely proud of the performance, but it's not the same level of confidence and accomplishment and satisfaction that I have experienced in the past.
I was just about to say, you brought up satisfaction. Now, with where you're at in your disc golf career, how come the satisfaction level kind of isn't reaching where, let's say, you would want it to reach?
That's a tricky one as well. So I think anybody who is really driven to get to the top and then has the ability to be there for a while, I mean, there's just a type of personality that never goes away. And the reality is that as you age, obviously your game is going to take some hits, and you just physically cannot stay at that level forever. And I'm sorry, but I don't see any of you anymore.
It's okay.
You're good.
We just had you spotlighted. I'm doing a lot of things
that I wasn't speaking to.
No, you're okay. I flew to Detroit today, so I'm not in our studio producing. So I'm doing a lot here, and I'm trying to figure out how to spotlight you, and I did it, not to make you feel awkward. Do you feel like, I'm not trying to be presumptuous at all, if Kristen Tatar played at her best, Paige played at her best, Ella played at her, so on and so forth, and you played at your best right now, do you beat them, or could you?
Today's best? No, I don't beat them.
So do you feel like they underperformed a little bit this week, or do you think you played at your peak? Oh, you think they did?
Kristen definitely underperformed, and you could see it. You mentioned that she's very stoic and doesn't show a lot of emotions, but when you're right next to her, you can tell the disappointment she has when she misses a putt, and it's subtle, but she definitely struggled that last round, and I was almost wondering how what can I do to pump her up, and because it was she wasn't off a lot, she was just off a little bit, and it felt like she just needed I don't know, just needed a hug, and maybe it would come back. But her ceiling is so high that even when she plays poorly, well, and I wouldn't say she played poorly, she just didn't play extremely sharp, and her skill is so high that even that is enough to eclipse the field.
Do you think that, and not to kind of speak on what's going on in Kristen's head at that moment, but and I think boredom is the wrong word, but when you're going into the final round with a 6-stroke lead, and then after 9 holes, you still have 4 or 5 of those strokes, and it's kind of now at this point you're just playing match play those last few holes. Do you think there is a boredom factor there of I've pretty much got this solidified, I'm ready to just get on out of here and drive to the next one, or is it just, some days people are having off days?
Well, I would never presume what somebody else is thinking, and if it were me, no, definitely boredom would never be part of it, because you're still playing in front of a large gallery, and I mean, I would much rather go into the final round with a massive lead than a fight for the finish. So I don't think that's it. To me, it looked like maybe a slightly bad shot here, a little bit of a disappointment there, and maybe it just sort of compounded a little bit before she was able to right the ship and come back and finish very strongly. But there were a couple times where she got on the tee and she had just missed a putt that didn't seem short to me, but was one that she obviously expected and was disappointed in not making. And again, if you were close enough just to see her facial expressions, you could see that she really put some heat onto the next drive. And Jim even mentioned to her, he said, "You're a little pissed after that for that shot, weren't you?" And she kind of looked. She's like, "Oh yeah, I was." And the form looks the same and everything, but you could just feel the extra effort that went into it, and it did result in a further distance off the tee as well. So I don't know, there were just some internal struggles that she was working on, whatever those happened to be. I have no idea.
Well, I think it's enjoyable to see you play at this level. And before you came on, we were debating, and I've been around about 18 years in the sport. That's the longest I've been. But is this the greatest performance from someone from your generation of disc golfer? And we don't mean necessarily age-wise, although age would play a factor to be this generation. But like, can you think of another performance? And I'm putting you at a really high performance level here in this modern age from someone that you used to compete with.
I can't come up with an example of something, but I'm still of the mindset that yes, I'm happy that I podiumed, but it was still third place. It's not a win. So I have never in my life prior to the modern era been happy with it's not a win, which is a different mindset for this generation.
Okay, so you might have heard us. You were in the green room a little bit. That was part of our conversation is this players obviously want the win, and the drive in a competitor will never be satisfied. But players are seemingly posting more positive social media posts now when they're top 15 or top 10. Like they're saying, like, I played well.
Again, modern era. There are reasons for that. One, there are all kinds of bonus structures that pay down significantly. There are the points that people are working to, and it's not just woohoo, I've got the top points. They actually mean something now, to get into the tour finale or to get a tour card. So there are really big financial incentives for all of these things, and it's just also people are making enough money from sponsorships that it's not just who wins is the winner. So when I played, I 25 years ago, I won almost everything, and I was averaging about $400 a week. And if I didn't win, I had to save money from the previous week to put gas in the car and to feed myself. So there was a lot more almost animosity between the players to get that money to get to the next tournament. And now the top 12 people get $1,000. The top 20 people get, over $800. I mean, the money is so much bigger in the winnings that it's okay to be farther down in the rankings and still feel like you're making enough to make this a legitimate profession or hobby or, you know, couple year adventure. And as I mentioned before, the top players, they're making more money off the course than they are on the course. So it's a really different mindset and different incentive.
Are you happy, or I don't know the right word to use here, I don't have the correct word, with where you entered disc golf, the generation that you entered with? Are you proud and happy of that, or do you feel like, man, I was just too early? Like if I had been around, no?
I'm very happy for where I entered. For one thing, I do feel a little bit of pride for where we're at now, that maybe in some small way, something that I did helped to grow the sport, grow the women's field, show the men that the women can play. I don't know what it was, but I feel like in some way I'm helping to boost what is there today. But also, if there had been the kind of media attention, social media exposure, spectators, no, I could probably handle the spectators. It's the online stuff when I'm not playing, Reddit, for example. If I had to sustain that type of scrutiny as a 20-something, I would have probably come in, tried to get to the top, and then got out of here as fast as possible.
Yeah, I think those are some incredible, insightful responses there. I'm kind of like, well, we're glad that you came back. I think you talked about, your past 15, 20 years ago being helpful, but I think your return, using the word return, your return to disc golf, I think has had a significant impact as well. If not only even just this weekend, I was rooting for you. Like, I think you had a whole bunch of people doing that going, this is what we want to see. Like, this is really cool. And I hope this doesn't offend you that I would use Tiger Woods as an example, but like, we want to see Tiger Woods win that Masters one more time. And had you done something like that,
you think comparing me to Tiger Woods is going to offend me?
I don't know. It was a male player. I mean, he's great, but like, I couldn't think of the female option off the top of my head.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I want to hop back to 2001 USDGC. You, of course, famously cashed an MPO at that. I just want to hear more about that experience, what you were thinking going into that event, and just like what it meant to be, a woman playing in the MPO field. And before I get the response, I do have to say, I think it's been known before, but I did just double check it. You're the only player who's played an FPO and has cashed at USDGC and MPO. That year in 2001, you averaged a 997 rating. Of course, USDGC has a few years without ratings, but that is the best rating from a player who has played FPO. It's actually not the best place someone has come in. You did that the year previous, finishing 37th. I'm assuming a smaller field, but that's the second best place, finishing 50th. So let us know, what were all the emotions going into that event and after when you cashed?
By far the most exciting tournament that I have ever played in. Every year I looked forward to USDGC more than all of the other events because, for one, well, I knew the field was going to be the best that it could possibly be. There was no better field out there, and there's no qualifiers. It's not just you're the best woman, you're the best whatever age protected, you're the best some qualifier. It was just against everyone. And I felt so accepted by the guys. I didn't feel like they were threatened by me. Well, maybe some of them were, but it was in kind of a playful way. And if I would this is back in the day when you couldn't look at the scores on your phone. You had to go walk to the clubhouse and see them actually printed out. So, if I'd walk by as people were looking at the scores, and I could just hear murmurings, and they would be talking about the Juliana line, whether they were above or below the Juliana line. So, it was just a really special feeling to be able to perform well and on that stage. And yeah, In fact, I gave up the opportunity to play in the women's major 2 or 3 times because it conflicted with USDGC. So it was more important for me to go compete with the guys than it was to go win another major.
Well, that's incredible. Again, your responses, I'm loving it. I feel like the only other one I can think of, and it's not the same level, but was Katrina competing at the European Open. How many years ago was that? 7 years ago, 6, 5, I don't know, somewhere in there. But I think it's awesome when you guys can do that. Wow. So I don't want to say what's next. We already know your journey of disc golf and what you're saying that you kind of want to do. Go ahead, Nick.
Tell us a little bit about kind of juggling back and forth between commentary and playing on the Pro Tour in and of itself. You've dabbled a little bit in commentary. I actually very much enjoy your commentary. One of my favorite times that you did commentary was with my best friend Hannah Macbeth at the USDGC, and it was definitely the easiest to listen to. Kind of, do you feel like you're going to slowly take more of a role into that as your playing years? You're going to, once you stop playing?
Yes, I do anticipate that is where I will go. And by the way, I need to thank Hannah. If Hannah hadn't been the one sitting next to me, I probably would not have done that because I was too uncomfortable in that position. Jonathan Poole was the one that reached out to me and asked me if I would do commentary for the Throw Pink, and I politely declined. And then he asked me again, and I slightly more strongly declined. And then he asked me again, and he said that Hannah would be doing the play-by-play next to me, and she is just such a sweet soul, and I knew that I would be comfortable sitting next to her in the booth. And it was basically because Hannah would be next to me that I agreed to do it in the first place. So I'm grateful for Hannah for that.
So the chat, shout out to Citizens username there. They said on the course commentary would be fantastic from Juliana. Have you thought about that? They always get you in the booth if you're going to do something, but like on the course could be really awesome.
Sure, that'd be fun.
Yeah, and you'd be down there with the players and the feeling. I think I'm a vote for that. I think the chat likes to vote for that too. So, so where are you going next? Next event you're playing? You're hitting every single one?
Not every single one, but I am doing Missoula, the Silver Series this weekend coming up. And then instead of DDO, Jim and I are actually going back to the Portland area, and we're going to play the Beaver State Masters event. So very much looking forward to getting to play Milo again for a different tournament. And then I'll be back. We'll fly back to the Midwest, hit Des Moines. I was originally thinking that I was going to drop out of the preserve because I thought that there was, I thought there was no chance that I would be able to make it into the finale based on how I was playing. But with the amount of points that I got this last weekend, I now think it would be irresponsible to not play the preserve. So we're going to make that happen. One of the reasons we were going to potentially drop that one is because it's a very long drive from St. Cloud, Minnesota to Flagstaff, Arizona for Masters Worlds. But we're going to make it happen because I don't want to get it to the end of the year and miss the cut by 20 points.
Because of one event not being played.
Yeah.
Are there any courses that you haven't played that the tour plays nowadays over the last few years? Are there any courses that you haven't been to yet that you're looking forward to playing this year?
Jonesboro this year was new for me.
Okay.
Some of the Texas tournament courses were new for everybody.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I had played Waco, but I played the other side of the river years ago.
Okay. Yep.
So I was actually quite confused when I first got there trying to get my bearings because, it's on the Brazos River and there's the river and it took me a few minutes. But then I do remember, they took the tour card photos on the other side and then it all clicked because that looked familiar.
That makes sense.
And then I remember from decades ago them talking about the course that was going to be built on I think the east side, which is where they play now. Yeah. So it's kind of funny how some of the memories click in place so many years later.
So we know that you do a lot of Frisbee stuff. You've probably been a part of the all-around events. I haven't researched all of your history. I just know there's a lot of world titles and a lot like there's impressive stuff. Too many accolades to list right now. You've also mentioned that you tend to be more of an introverted person. I think I've either heard that on podcasts or I don't know where I've heard that. Maybe it was in person. I met you out at Junior Worlds, Master Worlds last year. What do you do to unwind? Maybe it's Frisbee related. Maybe it's not. Like, do you go and do a little freestyle session in the backyard by yourself?
Well, there's no backyard at the moment.
Okay.
You know, looking on the road.
The Walmart parking lot.
No, my unwind is going to seem extraordinary vanilla to you. I quilt, I knit, I puzzle, I read, all pretty solitary endeavors.
Do you read any specific genre?
I like science fiction.
Ooh. Okay.
Give us a favorite book that you like.
Ender's Game is a really, really good book. Hail Mary was written by the same author that wrote Mars, that was just made into a movie 5-10 years ago. Hail Mary was very good. I actually laughed out loud a couple times while reading that one.
Nice.
I'm laughing now. I think when you said it's going to seem very vanilla to us, I'm thinking to myself, I'm the dad of 4 boys, and my wife probably would be like, please give me that. She loves to read as well. I think it sounds extremely relaxing. And I think some of our players, I think I'd like to know more from all of our players, how they're getting this downtime, because I think it's a constant grind, right? We hear if you're always thinking disc golf and if you're always thinking your gameplay, you're probably stressing yourself out and it's not helping you. That'd be my take. What do you think?
I do spend a lot of time visualizing playing the course, but usually that's in the evening. Usually it keeps me up at night when I should be sleeping. So yeah, it's frustrating to me if I don't know the course well enough to be able to go through and play it. I feel like I'm missing out on my practice time. So yeah, that's definitely something that I do.
I feel like I just related to you so greatly, and I'm not at your level by any means, but laying in bed before a tournament going, everyone does that, right? Like they're like, okay, what shot, what throw? Oh, is that, that? And I think, who was our last guest last week or the week before? They actually said it kept them up. Remember, who was that? They were saying they were kept up.
We had
thinking
Jen
about...
Allen on last.
Oh, that's who it was.
That sounds right. Yeah.
She had the lead.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, one of the holes, I can't tell you which one it was. Yesterday or the day before, during the round, I ended up not getting a birdie, and I was in a position where that was a potential, and Jim was trying to console me, and I was thinking, well, I played this hole 20 times last night and I never birdied it in my thought process, so I'm fine.
Wow, that actually is a statement that I want to write down on my phone. Like you don't birdie this every time, so don't be disappointed by it. I forget. There was an interesting book I read once. It talked about something along those lines. It was like, hey, you can't remember. Oh, it was Seth Muncie, Nick. You can't be disappointed if you're not putting in the work to get it. And if in Juliana's mind she's not birdieing that hole, don't be disappointed about it. Like, well, maybe.
Yeah, I don't want to set the expectations so far out of reach that it's inevitable that you're disappointed and frustrated on the course.
Right. Awesome.
Talk to us a little bit, just really quick, about the kind of caddy-player relationship. It is your husband who is out on the road with you now?
Yes.
And so you both compete. You're both very competitive in your fields. And Jim was caddying for you this past weekend. Just talk to us a little bit about the caddy-player relationship and how it is, let's say, helped you in your disc golf career.
Well, what he did this last weekend, which was invaluable, was to keep me calm and kind of blissfully ignorant of where I actually was. So obviously I knew I was on the lead card, but I just, like the third round, I just figured, okay, it's going to be a one and done. I'm going to drop back down. Hopefully I'll stay in the top 10. And, I pretty much had that mindset the whole time. So I just I want to throw a good shot here. I want to throw a good shot here just to show the crowd that I can. But, it's not like I have to worry about where I am compared to the other girls because I'm going to fall. And he he did a really good job keeping me focused on the next shot and the next shot, and just keeping me calm. And for example, some of the things he was like, slow down. And he was making little jokes like, your demographic doesn't walk very fast, so you got plenty of time to get to the next tee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a world champion. He's a multi-time world champion. He's a Hall of Famer. So I have complete trust in his advice, and he knows my game inside out and backwards. And so he's a sounding board that I can talk to about each shot. And sometimes I think he can tell the difference. I think he can tell when I need help and when I need a suggestion, or I just basically need somebody to say, yes, you're right. Yes, that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. So it works really well. And the thing that might not be obvious is the crowds. I actually like playing in front of crowds, but playing in front of cameras, that's a little bit, makes me more self-conscious. And so just being able to have him next to me provides a calm and a serenity that might go unchecked if I didn't have that. For example, towards the end, AJ Risley is on one of the cameras on the cart, and all of a sudden I just feel that he is just, he's walking backwards with the camera as I'm walking to the next tee. He almost falls over walking into a tree. Yep. And it had amped up. And so, it's obvious that either I'm a potential storyline or they're really talking about me. And, so I just have him as my, my human support, and it really helps me to handle that kind of spotlight.
Wow. I'm enjoying all this insight. I like that. I've thought about that a little bit. Having a camera right on you. It is what it is, but yeah.
Can I hop over? I want to hear, just because I come from computer science background. Juliana, I want to hear, just tell us a quick brief history on your studies with computer science, and then what you did with it to help disc golf.
Oh gosh. So I was a senior in college when I first started playing disc golf. And shortly after that, I started grad school in computer science. And this was the dawn of the internet. So the very first web page that I built just to practice with this brand new technology was a disc golf web page. And nice. I had the previous summer, I had a car. So my friends convinced me that I needed to drive them to the World Championships in Huntsville, Alabama in 1993. And that was the first year of the Hall of Fame. And so I had this printout with people's names and the little speech that everyone got with all of their accomplishments. And so that was one of the pages that I built in this first little disc golf website. So that kind of grew. One of the things that I did along with that, because there were so few women, I wanted to try to coordinate and help the women go to events where other women would be at. And I created a database and an email list with all of the women, and another one with all the tournament directors. And I would suggest things that the tournament directors could do to entice more women. And then the tournament directors that would tell me that they are going to do, A, B, and C to help the women, I would then send that to the women's group and say, these are the events that are going out of their way to try to make you feel special. And it was, I was trying to help the sport, but it was also self-serving, because then I knew where the women were going to go play, and then I could go play at the events that had the most women attending. So that was one of the things that I did a long time ago.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because it definitely is an inspiration to see. I mean, disc golf has a lot of leaders in many different areas, but I mean, not only your play, but also just software in general, emerging disc golf. Of course, I find that really cool. So I appreciate hearing about that. And one of those things that I wish I knew earlier, like when I was in high school, just learning about computer science and programming. Very, very cool.
What's the name of the website? What was the website? Do you remember?
At one point, it was julianakorver.com. I no longer have that.
Well, the internet holds on to everything. So I think there's the Wayback Machine, and we can punch that
I have actually
in.
never looked there to see that. I still have the code. I still have the pages.
There you go. Awesome. Let's put it in a museum. So we're getting close here to the end of this, but I wanted to ask, when you look at disc golf now, you come off as a pretty positive individual. I don't hear you say a lot of negativity, and I don't think negativity in general, just for the sake of saying it, is a good thing. But do you see anything in disc golf today that you just feel like it maybe isn't going in the right direction, whether it's the course types or paywall media, or like, is there anything that stands out to you, way sponsorships are going, that you kind of just feel like, man, I just don't know if that's right?
I'm not quick to judge on some of those things. I kind of want to step back and let them play out a little bit more, and I think that they will evolve into the right path. And I don't pretend to have enough knowledge to know what's right or wrong right now. So I just am amazed at where we are right now, and grateful that we have gotten this far in my lifetime so that I've been able to experience it firsthand.
I didn't expect much less. You're a very processing person, and I appreciate that very much. In fact, I think we all need a Juliana in our lives. Maybe on the podcast, we can run our thoughts through Juliana, and then we can decide if we're going to talk about them. All right. Well, we got to that point. We've asked a fair amount, but we probably missed some. The chat was really happy to hear about you and what you're doing and how you're doing it and what your plans are. Is there anything we missed that you'd like to talk about before you go?
I probably, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
Okay.
Are
Awesome.
there any specific ways that people can help support the touring efforts?
Yeah, so it is fiscally responsible.
Thank you for that. Well, I do have a Halo Octopus turn out there that is available at the Innova Factory website. And my second Tour Series disc will be coming out shortly, I believe, which will once again be a Halo Roadrunner.
Nice.
And OTB just recently dropped a new hot stamp commemorating me, and you can find that at otbdiscs.com. They also have a few hot stamps for my husband, Jim Oates, as well.
Very fun.
Well, go do that, everybody. She says she doesn't always cash, but we think it's in her. Go out and support Juliana. I know my kids and we have all the JK AVRs under the sun. They're on Team Innova, so they get their allotment, and that's a lot of what they order. So
I appreciate that. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Nice.
Awesome. All right. Well, without delaying much longer, we're going to let you go, and we do appreciate very much your time, and we'd love to have you on again someday. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Julia.
right. Bye. And without the music, it's a little weird, but I apologize.
Peace.
Hi.
Yeah.
By the way, update to our listeners. Philo came on our show last week, and we asked how we could support him. And he went off on a little tangent, and then next thing you know, like PayPal and Venmo was coming out of his mouth, and he's like, whoops, like I don't usually do that. But in all seriousness, and I bet you it's more now, he texted me the next morning and he said $100 made it into his digital pocket. So there you go.
No kidding.
Apparently, we can start paying our guests through our listeners.
We'll just have to do that to you guys.
We'll just have to ask our listeners, if this is your favorite guest, go ahead and send money now.
So when we were mid conversation with Juliana, and I feel so bad about it, but I was trying to hit my mute button and type, but
it was so loud.
So I have a loud keyboard. It was given to me, and why pay for a keyboard when a keyboard's given to you? But if I hit my mute button, am I not muted?
It should be. Wait, you're not muted now. Try talking.
See, am I not muted?
You're not muted.
Dude, why? Is it because you're not in studio?
I don't know why, but mute the physical button on your microphone. Try that.
That's what I'm hitting. I'm hitting the.
Is it blinking?
Yeah, it's blinking at me.
Oh, well, then you're not using that mic. You're just using your laptop mic.
I was going to say, you did sound different today. I didn't even think
Change
about
over
that.
your mic. It's going to sound so nice. I thought it was echoey.
It literally said earlier.
You can change it right now. That's so funny. I was like, Nick,
oh my God,
I was like, it sounds echoey.
Switched
like
off of it.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. I'm so annoyed.
In 44 minutes with that.
Dude, that's so friggin' annoying. And people said in the chat earlier, they're like, Nick sounds a little tunnely tonight. And even Matt said it before we started the show. But when I literally did an update and restarted my computer. I'm so pissed now.
Adam
I did an
Hammes,
update.
Every time you
Adam was
ask
literally
a question, he's like leaning in so hard.
Oh my God, that's so annoying. Wait, so hold on really quick.
Oh yeah, you're muted hardcore.
Can't hear you. Look at that.
That's dude. I'm a freaking
glad you weren't
amateur. I'm an amateur disc golfer and
I'm
a freaking amateur. Okay,
I'm
so
glad
now
you weren't,
someone
like,
said turn
ripping
down the
farts
gain.
or something,
Am I a little
dude,
too
like-
loud now?
You're a touch too loud, but yeah.
Let me see.
I mean,
Is this better?
Well, talk. I actually can see.
Check 1 2
Yeah,
1
it's
2
fine.
check.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
fine.
Oh,
Well-
guys, I'm so sorry, guys. I started typing on my phone because I was like, maybe it's because Matt's not in studio and the connection's not.
Dude,
going
it was
the right
so
way.
loud. I think Juliana's
dude,
probably like, "What's going on?" It's
Oh,
like,
I literally, and I don't even remember what I was typing about, but it was just like, yeah, someone just said, Nick, not a computer science major. Absolutely not. Dude, I get onto computers to play video games and answer emails and do a little bit of research and a podcast. I don't know anything. My brother built this computer with me
yeah. I mean, also,
in 2016.
This triggers a nerve in me. I just have to say, computer science, and that's like it feels like a broken record, but also I think too. But just to say, computer science is more about programming
Data.
software.
No. But I get what they're saying. Just like computer knowledge,
So-
and
Oh,
like
that's
IT
funny.
crap like
Hearing is
that,
a little
guys.
bit more
So
better, like
man,
IT.
I owe all of the chat. I owe
don't
all
even
of
know
you
if we
guys an
can post this.
apology.
I don't even know if we
What's
can
that?
post it, Nick.
I
think it's
wouldn't
just gonna
post it.
scrap
I would chalk this episode up as a loss. You know, it's
Dude,
done.
I thought about saying something too, but Matt sounds different just because he's on a different mic and a different system. So like, I thought maybe it was me
Oh,
because
no.
we're
But I
remoting
had
to the
also-
computer.
So I
It's
literally
weird.
I
Oh, boy.
restarted my program and I plugged in the microphone. I restarted my computer. Everything was plugged in correctly. It literally said Yeti. And the only reason I didn't think anything different of it is because everything is still going through my headphones.
Yep.
So I could hear when I mute myself, everything obviously goes quiet in my headphones. And so I thought I was muting myself. Guys, I'm so sorry. Someone did ask what kind of video games I like to play. I was a huge World of Warcraft nerd. For the better part of my middle school and high school life. I did not do well in high school grades wise, and I will 100% chalk it up to the second I got home, especially during the wintertime. All I did was play World of Warcraft all night.
What level was your character?
Well, so I
Is
used
that
to
the
play
right thing to
during Wrath
ask?
of the Lich King. I used to play during Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm. So back then it was 80 to 85. And then when Legion came out, I got my Demon Hunter up to, I think it was 90 back then. But I was big into Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King. Like that was prime Nick Carl. All I did was spend my time on World of Warcraft. I was one of the best healers in my realm. Horde all the way, by the way. If you guys are Alliance, we're not friends. I'm Horde. I was a Tauren. I was an Orc Shaman. Anyways.
Literally none of these are making sense to me. This is
So,
incredible.
Yeah. It's great.
It's cool. It's cool to hear things.
But and I'm going to get off this because we got to talk about disc golf, and intern Ben just joined in. But right now, I like to play Overwatch and I like to play League of Legends. Those are two games that I can just kind of spend 30 minutes to an hour playing, and I enjoy it. But if I want to play a battle royale with my buddies, we were all huge into Fortnite when that was the really big thing. I love playing Fortnite on the Xbox, and then Call of Duty. But other than that, that's about it. I still love gaming.
Do we even hear intern Ben?
No, do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
I hear you
there
now.
you
I have myself muted. I was just making sure
Oh, you know
it was
how to do
working. Yeah.
That's a Nick joke, not a you joke, Ben.
No,
Okay.
I was here.
Guys, I'm so because I know I
Keyboards.
have a really loud keyboard. It's annoying, and so
All
I feel
right.
so bad that people are like, "Dude, you're typing."
It's all right.
I'm
we
like,
talked. They were
"Oh."
loud. They loved
Yeah.
it, but
You're
I
a gamer. That's why.
So
Ben,
sick interview
Ben.
with Juliana Korver. By the way, Hannah Macbeth is in the chat right now. Hannah, Juliana shouted you out. I hope you heard it, but
Hey,
she
I shouted
you
out too, by the way. So
What's that?
Hannah, listen back to right before the interview, and you can hear me shout you out.
Okay.
What did you say? I forget.
Hold on. We're
That
way
was
off
saying
disc golf.
not liking dominance, and I'm going to channel my inner Hannah Macbeth and say
Oh,
that
yes.
watching dominance can be really exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. A few topics, but I don't want to spend more than like 2 minutes on any of these. But Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm
Okay.
here on vacation in the Berkshires. Just
Way to
played
be-
Stony Kill, so
Way to be slacking in
Woo.
turn, Ben. Way to slack.
I know. You're on vacation too. What do you mean?
No, I'm not on vacation. I'm double working. I guess some call it double dipping, but I'm like, gotta get ready for my meeting in the morning. Okay. Here's yes or no. Yes or no. I don't want to turn this into a full debate. I'll ask Ben first because he just got here.
Okay.
Is Paige Pierce as good as she used to be? And I mean talented throw wise.
Is Paige Pierce as good as she used to be? I think yes. I think right now Paige is just in her head. She sees Kristen Tatar taking like the more conservative routes and beating her. So I think she's trying to encapsulate that and try that style. But I think Paige just needs to be herself.
So,
And when Paige is herself, I think she can win.
but I guess so. But you think her performance this weekend was as good as she can be?
Her performance this weekend was no. But
okay,
I
so
think
that's kind of what I'm asking. Is she
Okay.
performing as good as she used to? And I don't mean, again, not finish wise. I
Yeah.
mean like skill wise. Is she performing as good as she used to? Or are we seeing subpar performances for Paige? So what do you think, Evan?
Well, okay, so the question's kind of tough, and I think that's what Ben's struggling with because I kind of struggling with it too. Like week to week, she can be the best that
Yes.
she has been. So like OTB, I think that was like that's what peak Paige is. She was peak Paige for a weekend,
But
but
we
was
didn't have the
not
field
peak
there.
Paige at Portland. We didn't have Kristen Tatar there. Everyone else was there pretty much. I don't want to hear.
Yeah,
it.
but that matters. That matters though, because you're saying when Paige is playing her
But her
best, she's
skills
beating
were
Kristen.
there. And if the only thing that could have changed that weekend with Kristen being there is mental for Paige. I don't think Kristen playing how she's been the last month or two would have beaten Paige at OTB. I think the only thing would have been Paige knowing that Kristen was there could have affected her mental.
Okay. Well, I was just generally thinking if she's playing at her best, as good as she used to, because I think her best was on display over the past few years. If she's playing at that level, like you think she's doing that now, like she's playing that level this year, or do you feel like she's not playing to that level that she used to?
At times.
At times.
Yeah, at
okay.
times. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think she's playing to that level at times.
I wanna see it.
But I think she can. I mean, I thought you were saying, is she capable? I thought you were saying,
No.
is she just done? Is she just done and
Yeah.
bad? Like, no, I
For-
think she still has it in her, and it's
Okay.
just a matter of
Yeah, for
unleashing it.
for the dominance that we've seen from Paige over, let's say, the last 7 years, eventually that dominance is slowly going to drift away. And what is now the new normal look like? Paige picks up 3 to 4 wins every single year, and do we chalk that up as a bad season for her?
If Kristen's there,
she's got 2 wins already.
Oh, Nick just chimed out his Wi-Fi. But here's the
Virginia
deal.
thunderstorm.
And I hate to say it, and if Paige is watching,
Sorry,
or
I'm just a
listening
mess
this,
tonight.
then Paige is going to be like, Matt, come on. And I feel bad, but this is our job. Like, if Kristen's there, then I say awesome on the win. Without Kristen to this point, it's hard to go, yes. Like, you want to see her beat Kristen, and then you feel like the field was there. I know you say it's one person, but like a win without her there right now is just a different thing. And I'll leave it at that. Let's move on.
So she has 1 win with Kristen there, and she has 1 win without Kristen there.
Okay.
So, I mean, she's 50-50 right now in the tournaments that she's won. I mean, so do we consider it like we're not seeing prime Paige? We're definitely not seeing prime Paige Pierce right now. Paige has been dealing with an injury and then was also dealing with, I think, personal stuff in her own life where eventually the dominance is going to wear off. We need to find what the new normal is. And
I will say if Kristen wins without Paige and Katrina and Ella and Valerie Mandahano, if she wins with some of those players missing, I say the same thing. I go, good job, Kristen. But like, really, like, we want to see you win against all the best.
Yeah.
So, let's see. 4-round events. There's a cut, short and sweet. Do you like?
Love it.
Do you? Okay, Nick likes
Absolutely love it. It's the best thing in our sport.
it. Okay.
Just kidding. It's not the best thing in our sport, but
Yeah.
I completely love cuts after 3 rounds. The best of the best play that 4th and final day, and it's cool.
Hey,
Agreed with Nick. No changes.
Ben, was the chat telling you were hissing or something? Because I noticed you muted, which was nice.
No, I am just on vacation with like 10 of my family members, so
Okay.
I just don't want to make sure
Okay.
the echoes from them.
Let's
having a
make
party
them
over there.
famous. Let's make them famous. Okay. How about this one?
Let's go.
Where is
We're at
she?
Ben's vacation house. Okay.
Live.
How do you feel about Chris Dickerson this year? You brought him up. He didn't win. He made a post right before the show went live that said something along the lines of he's not happy with the season. Now, it's in Chris Dickerson form. He's not like pounding his fist and like complaining and screaming. It was just like, hey, I'm not happy.
Look,
but
if Chris Dickerson's not happy about his season, then I'm not happy about
well,
his
so what do we
season.
need to see going forward from Chris to be like, is in all seriousness, we're not saying is he washed up, but what happened? Went from being like literally what you would argue is the best player in the world to now like we don't talk about him very much.
I mean, how many events realistically has he played so far this year?
He has played 6
Out of the big
major,
events?
elite, and silver. He played, let's go, Waco, Austin, Music City, Innova Blue Ridge, Champions Cup, Jonesboro. So what did I say? 6, 4 elite, 1 silver, 1 major.
Okay.
His like I'm gonna say this: 1 Tennessee state champ. I don't care. Like he can be disappointed that all like that's like he can be disappointed. That's Chris Dickerson being disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Me analyzing Chris Dickerson's season, do not care. Like you can lose an A tier on your like off week, does not matter. I want to think about Pro Tour. On first thought, it feels like he hasn't been in the mix. We haven't really seen him on lead cards. He's kind of felt like forgotten about. When I pull up his results right now, I see like really nothing wrong. Like he's just not getting that next
terrible.
step.
Yeah.
His worst finish is 22nd at Waco.
Yeah.
He has a 3rd place finish at Music City, which is kind of like that's the one we thought he was going to win because Tennessee won it in past, and he kind of fell off to then squeeze back into 3rd.
Yeah.
Simon stole the show, but 2 top 10s and 5 top 20s and 22nd being your like, nah, that's like he is good. He is still, I would argue that's a towards the back end of top 10 players season right there.
We, I think, have so much biasness towards what people do in 2023 that we are just so expectant of them to do the same in,
this is
in 2022 to do the same in 2023. Like
this
Chris
is
Dickerson
coming from him.
What Silver Series event, and then won Champions Cup, and then won another Silver Series event. Excuse me, gosh, I'm like fumbling my words right now. But at the same time, Chris Dickerson lost Music City Open by 2 strokes. Okay, not the worst thing in the world. 3rd place at an Elite Series event. Got 11th place at PDGA Champions Cup, the major that he did win the year prior in the inaugural event for it, but still got a top 15, top 20, whatever you want to call it, at a major. I mean, he's having an okay year in the sense of he can be disappointed about it. And I think most people, unless you're having a kick-ass season, most players in the world are going to say, yeah, I'm having a poor season. Look, I'm not even playing anything big this year, and I am having a poor season. I can think about that. Now, people may say, oh, but you have a couple wins. And it's like, yeah, I know, but I also have some really inconsistent finishes this year. I am not happy with it. So every single player is going to say that. But when you actually look at the stats, he's not having that bad of a year. If you look at it, he's probably not doing too bad in the Pro Tour rankings right now either. Maybe.
Well, yeah, no, that's all those are fair points, everybody. I think those are all fair points. I just read, and this wasn't me saying he's having a bad year. This was for topic discussion. He's the one who said he's having a year that's underperforming to what he wants. And I think you're right. Most players probably would say that, but
yeah,
I don't know. Last year, I don't think Gannon would have said that he was underperforming. I mean, I don't think, there's a handful of players, but unless you're at the top, which is where he was. That's why this question came up, because that's where he was. He was winning or placing podium at almost everything.
2021, Adam Hammes had a great season.
There,
2022,
yeah.
Adam Hammes did not have a good season. 2023 has now won an Elite Plus event. We'll say, no matter what, that, hey, that was a damn good season. Even if that's the only win he gets this year. If he cashes at the rest of the events, gets top 20 in all the rest of the events, Adam Hammes, for who he is as a player and how we kind of view Adam Hammes, That's a badass season for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. This one is, I was going to have it as a topic, but with Adam Hammes saying what he said, he has way more authority on this than us. We are a talk show, but should there be standardized baskets, or at least at the very least, should some not be on tour? That's his opinion. I think we all probably agree that that'd be great. There was discussion about the Pro Tour doing that at some point, like making their own basket. The
Paige alluded to that. Who knows whatever happened with that? But
it's going to be a while out. The PDGA has rules for baskets, but we would like to see there be a basket, just like they do with other sports.
I need to say something on
Say
this.
something.
Just real quick. I'm sick of the complaining of baskets. Like,
do you think Aaron Gossage?
Evan, you are one of the most complainer people about courses.
Hold on.
Yes,
you're going to complain about people complaining about baskets right now.
Do you think hole 16? Do you think hole 16 that was Aaron Gossage's fault?
I'm going to deflect until I'm finished.
All right.
I think that I wish there was a standardized basket. I wish baskets caught more, and there are baskets that are better than others, and people have different opinions on which baskets are better than others. But I think as a player, it is important to know what basket you're playing on and where is a good place to hit for that basket, what that basket's going to do. I, as an amateur who's not very good, know that some baskets, I used to be a really soft nose down putter, and I knew if I landed bottom left on certain baskets, it just would be too soft and bounce right out. Even though it was going to land in the bucket, I knew it was going to, and I could complain about that basket all I want, but I learned that that's what that basket does. I can't hit it there. I need to hit it strong side, and or hit it faster. I need to do all these different things. I think players need to accept that different baskets have different strong suits and different, let's say, error spots that you cannot do. And I think what Aaron Gossage did is an error spot of what you cannot do, which is a nose down putt that's really fast and hits left side.
He hit the pole,
that
was not even nearly as hard as how Aaron was putting from 15 feet. Didn't even come down his full stroke. Literally just flipped it on in there.
I still want standardized baskets though.
Hold on.
I want one basket all season. I don't care if it's good or bad.
Yeah, Adam Hammes said that shouldn't have happened. But here's
it shouldn't have happened. But you need to know what basket it is.
Okay,
that's my point.
Okay, but here's my counterpoint. Because I actually agree 100% with what you're saying. I've said the same thing. When people complain about it spitting out or something else, I always go, I guess I have a one up on you because I play this basket different than I play other baskets. Like, you got to modify your game. I agree with that 100%, million percent, whatever. But I think where he hit on that basket, had he done that 20 times in practice, it would have stuck. And there's no way he could have learned from that. Like, he couldn't. He would have learned doing that putt 20 times that I can't do that. I don't think so. I think that was like an anomaly coming out on that basket. The way he hit it. It's
also hard to putt. Like, I don't think he was off by much for that basket. What is considered off? Yeah, I know that's a lot of words to say.
I'm glad you're disagreeing.
Sometimes putting is hard, and sometimes you hit the spot you shouldn't hit on certain baskets that should still go in general.
I'd be curious to ask Aaron and say, hey man, were you aiming for that spot? Were you aiming?
I don't know.
Were you aiming for the pole?
Don't know, because
I'm just curious, Aaron. Were you aiming dead center of the basket? You know?
Okay.
Just wondering.
Everybody, send your condolences. I mean, congratulations to Evan. He's getting married next week. So that's happening. I think we're a week out. Yeah. It's pretty cool. So, anyways, Evan won't be here next week, I think.
I would hope not.
And if you are, there's something that went horribly wrong, and like we're not even good friends. We're like, let's just do a show.
Yeah. Goodness. Okay.
And then
What's our next topic?
Hold on. Then the next week he's gone, and I'm bringing this up because 2 weeks from that, like, we'll talk about it, but like, I'll be gone as well. I don't think intern Ben and Nick are going to hold down the show. Maybe I'll leave that up to them.
Maybe we'll get the right guest and we'll just have a bunch of people.
Okay.
Who knows? We'll have a party show.
We'll figure that one out. It's
a
few weeks out.
I know it's getting late, but I brought a segment or a topic to this. Can we talk about this real quick?
As long as I get to say something right beforehand. Every single basket out on the tour right now is going to spit out. And you can create a standard basket, and we are still going to see spit outs.
Agree to agree on that.
I'm just going to end it there. Evan, take it away.
All right. It's an either or. Would you, if you were designing a course, we're going to say on a active ball golf course like we saw at Glendovier and we see, often through the Pro Tour, if you had to choose either side to use very often, what would you rather do? Mandos everywhere. We saw a lot of Mandos at Glendovier. You got Mandos in every hole, maybe multiple. Or would you rather see a lot of stringed OB to make tight shots? I mean, I know we see it at USDGC, which is not an active ball golf course, but that idea there or other courses of such.
Personally, really it's all dependent on the actual property in and of itself, but I would rather see Mandos than stringed OB, artificial OB. I would love for the sport to slowly move away from that, and I would rather people kind of have to play the course how the course is designed. Obviously, you see in golf a few times players do try to hit that reachable par 4. Maybe they have to hit it over the trees. It doesn't, I feel like, happen nearly as much. Majority of the time in golf, players are trying to play the middle of the fairway because that is the easiest place to hit the golf ball for your second or third shot, whatever. In disc golf, we have a little bit more of an advantage of our footing usually isn't as bad, and the way that you throw a disc is completely different than hitting a ball. But I would like to see courses designed and then players playing how that course was trying to be specifically designed. So for me personally, I actually thought Mandos are usually a pretty cool thing. You can obviously set up really bad Mandos, don't get me wrong, but done correctly, I think that's how I would rather view and watch a tournament.
I'm going to let intern Ben answer this one too, but I feel like we had this conversation, I don't know, a month ago, 4 episodes ago, where we were like, I was kind of joking, but I'm like, why don't we just build like pavilions that you have to throw out of, which would eliminate, spike hyzers, like you had to throw lower lines. And it was kind of the point was to force certain shots to make these courses play better. I think it's funny that we're now kind of saying, yeah, let's put up Mandos everywhere. But I think the question as it was posed is like, which would you rather? And I think I agree. I would rather force a certain shot than have this rope everywhere around the basket, because I think if you can force the shot, I don't care where it really lands, because you had to throw the same shot. So I agree with Nick on this one. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I think I do think Mandos over OB, but I think tasteful Mandos. I don't want to see just Mandos just to be there just because.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just recycling what I was saying, shaping shots. There might be an easy hyzer to the right, but the Mando makes you go left. I think that's brilliant and can really. Right now, everyone's talking about how they can make the game harder. That seems to be the biggest discussion amongst the pros, how they can make it harder. And I think Mandos is a step in the right direction, other than, I don't know, artificial OB is okay, but I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I'd rather see Mandos, if possible, over artificial OB. But if they're both incorporated properly, I don't have a problem with both.
We gotta get Simon on to talk about his hot takes. Did you guys see the photoshopped one, or maybe it was a real hot take where he was talking about how the sport needs more like hippies and music on cards and stuff like that? I'm assuming someone
what to think about any of that.
Yeah, because I think someone photoshopped one of it and it got blasted everywhere. But yeah, we definitely gotta get Simon on for a couple minutes, kind of talk about his hot takes that he had. Standstill areas. And
well, we actually we talked.
Wasn't that my idea? And he didn't like it.
He might not have said in his post about standstill areas. Someone else might have said it. But
hold on. Our most,
not my idea, but I think I said it on that show.
Our reel on Instagram, the most viewed reel that we've ever had on Instagram. Thank you for all of you. I think it's like 60,000 unique users on Instagram have watched it. They love it. It's him on our show talking about that. Like, I think it's interesting. We'll see where it goes from here in the future. We're running kind of late here. But is there anything I'm missing? I just heard someone take a breath.
I wanted to round out the Mando talk. I didn't expect you guys all to agree with me. I did think people were.
Oh, wow.
You thought people would like artificial OB, Evan?
No, I thought someone would have liked Mandos less. But like Ben said, it's tasteful Mandos. I just want to say I think Glendovier did Mandos fantastically. I thought they were very clear. Even on TV, I could tell what it was, and you want the players to first understand where their Mandos are and which way to play. I, watching it, could easily tell where they're supposed to throw. I thought that was very good. And you could see that where they put them, you could easily have gone a hyzer wide on either side if you would rather, but because they put it there, you had to go, let's say, up the gut. But they also had a different style, which is more of like a par 4 Mando to kind of ease the fairway a certain way when you're on these golf fairways. I thought it was so well done. I just really, really enjoyed the thought process that went into having these Mandos. Of course, they also had lined OB as well, played in on the final 18 hole a lot, but they had it throughout the course as well. But none of those felt really intrusive. It felt like the players were really staying away from it for the most part. And the Mandos, do we have a missed Mando on coverage? I don't think we did, which is a really good thing. I don't want to see missed Mandos. I just want Mandos there to tell the players, hey, this is where you should play. It shouldn't be let me barely get it around and test my luck. And I thought it was really well done. I was a big fan. I liked it a lot. I think this I'm going to go on. I really like Swenson Park too at OTB Open. I think that's a really good ball golf course. I want to give credit there, but I do think Glendoveer is the best active ball golf course we see on tour. Of course, active, excluding, Milo or Preserve in those.
Not hot enough take. Not hot enough. Take.
That's pretty standard.
I'm sure someone. I don't
me.
know if we saw Miss Mando on coverage, but I'm sure someone over the course of the weekend did miss a Mando. But I understand and agree with what Evan is saying. Like, one of the examples that I have kind of off the top of my head is hole 12 at Waco. So right before you get back out into the Open, it's a long, winding par 4 that slowly bends to the right the whole time. There is a Mando on the right-hand side, so that off the tee pad, you can't just throw it into the parking lot and then try to hyzer into the woods and get to the basket that way. You have to play the fairway.
Yes, I think
no one in their right mind, no one is going to miss that Mando when you actually have to play the fairway and throw the shot that the hole is calling for. No one's ever going to miss that Mando. But the fact that it's there, and people don't even know that it's there, like spectators and maybe fans who are watching it don't know that it's there, but it forces the players to play a certain way, which, I think that is the whole reasoning being, designing a course. You want people to play it the way that it's supposed to be designed. I remember when Portland Open first became a thing, I think they had some tee pad issues and I think bad inclement weather that created to where they could tee off from, a couple feet off the sides of the tee pads, and it completely changed the course from what I heard. So, I don't know. Just
yes, I remember that.
All right. So, I have a hot take. I'm bringing the hot take.
Do it.
All right. This is the hot take. I don't think, as a fan, I'm not a pro, obviously. As a fan, I don't think limiting pros and their abilities is the right direction. I think, as in like forehand only, backhand only, standstill only, that type of thing. I think whoever is playing the best that weekend and shooting the best with their full ability, their full potential, should win. I just don't personally like the idea of forehand only, backhand only,
so we should get rid of the circle rule too, where you can't step putt inside the circle. We should also get rid of the tee pad rule. That means you have to be standing on the tee pad.
Don't take it that far, Evan.
Dude, what?
Take it that
that's
far.
what I'm talking about.
That second one was a little hard.
I'll say this.
The circle rule, I think, is valid too as a counterpoint to that.
The circle is great.
Ben is talking about things that aren't in our sport yet. Ben, I'll say this. I don't think we are ever going to get to a point in our sport where you have to stand still in a certain area. I don't think we will ever get to a point where you will have to backhand or forehand. I actually think those are garbage ideas, especially you have to forehand here, you have to backhand here. I agree. I don't think those are good ideas.
Thanks.
So I don't think we'll ever get to that point. But I will say this, the circle rule, Evan, I mean, if right now, I think players have an advantage. If you can jump putt or step putt, I think you have an advantage in circle 2 and let's say circle 3 up to a certain amount, being able to jump putt and step putt. People who haven't learned that putting style yet, I think are at a slight disadvantage. Now there are the rare commodities like the Isaac Robinsons who just flick of the wrist all of a sudden, Calvin Heimberg, Eagle, Simon, they can do that extremely well. But let's take disc golf to a local level really quick. I think being able to step putt and jump putt in circle 2 has made me a better player and better putter because I can do that and because I practice that. I feel like I'm better at that than a lot of other local people. If they ever take that away, great. Then I'll just learn how to standstill putt from 50 feet. But right now, I feel like I don't have to.
Hannah bringing the balance. Evan, you said that earlier. You actually mentioned this. She said some people think of it as limiting skills and abilities. Others think of it as highlighting specific skills and abilities
Hannah.
over
That's
others.
what I'm thinking.
Well, I love it. Okay.
She
and
also
my
asked
point,
if she could do stats at your wedding, so you didn't see that. But
sorry, Hannah. But yeah, Ben, I wasn't trying to disregard your point with it. And forehand,
Hey,
backhand,
I wasn't
that's
even
pretty
mentioning
silly.
circles. That came out of left field.
No, because what I'm going to say is it's very different than forehand, backhand. But you mentioned standstills, which I am very much a proponent for, if that's the right way to say it. I really want to see standstills more often. I like the standstill area or every shot off the tee. I think that's great. I would like to see circle rules expanded more. I've mentioned, maybe a parallel line you can't cross even before you release. There's all these different things you go for it. So when you have a circle rule, I think that blends similarly to a standstill rule. Backhand, forehand.
So
that's
everything within
agree with you, Ben.
Everything within 325 feet of the hole, you have to stand still.
I don't like that necessarily, but
okay.
Yeah.
You like a specific area. So if I'm playing a par 5, hole
like
7
a
at
hazard
Fox
area,
Run,
or I prefer anything off the tee pad. You have to be standstill. But I think we've said it. I've said enough.
Dude, that's just too much.
All right, I would be on board. I would be on board with par 5s being the only holes that have standstill areas, meaning like if you don't make it certain distance or whatever. Okay, that topic. There is one more that a username, a fan, a listener submitted, and it's kind of not disc golf related, but it's infiltrated in the disc golf because we have names that are more popular now. Think Paul Macbeth, Ricky, Brody, go down the list, FPO, right? Kristen Tatar, Paige Pierce. Social media user followings, right? We see it in this pro scene a lot. We see it with music artists a lot. If they can rally their fan base towards one of their viewpoints, and it's not the full story, it's just a portion of it, like, hey, I'm upset at this person, go boycott them, right? Or I did this and it worked out that actually wasn't the full story, and after I made that post, I learned more information that says I was off a little bit. I guess where I'm going with this is, as the sport continues to grow and these players are making posts and they're saying things, how do I say this? What responsibility do they have to their their fan bases? Is this something that they should look up to some other sport? Or is it just something that's just going to be what it's going to be? Like, does anybody have any thoughts about this? Like, when someone makes a post, and I'm not going to put any specific details.
I'll put the specific names on it if you want me to. Are we talking about Maria and Brody on Twitter this week?
I'm not saying that's clearly what Matt was going for.
I think everyone, especially post audio listeners, but people in the chat right now are already bringing it up. But yes, I generally think what Matt is talking about is the Brody and Maria situation. Now,
to be clear, I actually wasn't, but that is a point.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But to be fair, like, that is a somewhat of a point that relates to this.
Well,
what's the responsibility level? I'm not saying who's at fault either. But I'm just saying, I think what's the responsibility?
Taking Brody and Maria out of the situation in general and talking about their fandoms, you could see it from both sides, that Brody's fans said one thing, Maria's fans said another thing. Ooh, Brody got owned, or ooh, Maria was being rude. And each fan side kind of stuck to their guns and said what they said, kind of in protecting of the person that they are a fan of. I think when it gets to a point of, if you are this person, let's say Matt and I tweeted something at Matt publicly blasted me about that tweet, and now the Matt fans are going at me, the Nick fans are going at Matt. When both of us see that, hey, this is becoming a little bit toxic, I think it gets to a point where it's like, hey guys, calm down, this really isn't that big of a deal. And before you go, Matt, I will say this, in the video gaming world, and I see it a lot with Twitch streamers, YouTube streamers, whatever, they all have their kind of cult followings. And when someone does something on someone else's stream, all of a sudden you got all the Nick Merckx people going at the Tim the Tatman people, even though they don't, because they're all really good friends. But, and then it gets to a point where those two people will say, like, hey guys, take it easy. Like, we don't need death threats. We don't need, like, name calling. We don't gotta talk about politics. We don't have to go at people's families,
Yeah, so a lot of what you just said is a great response and take on the question the way I posed it, because I was kind of being vague. I guess what I'd say is take what you just said and let's say more information. So let's take the Brody and Maria situation because now we're talking about it. Let's say behind the scenes they chatted and they kind of like were like, "Oh, wow, I misunderstood you," or this or that, right? And now none of them come out and say anything about like, "Oh, we misunderstood each other. Here's what it is." Like now the fan base is just left thinking whatever the last thing was that was posted about it. Let's go like Paul and Brody, not to rehash all of that from the years past,
Mhm.
but like if there was something that happened behind the scenes there, they have no obligation to say like, "Hey guys, we made up." But like, I think this is the question. Like, would it be beneficial to the fan bases if they were like, "Oh yeah, like 6 months ago, we actually like made up, totally apologized about everything," right? Like, where's the responsibility lie for these players now? If they drop, I'm gonna say they drop a bomb and then they find out new information. Is it their responsibility to go back and fix it?
I don't know.
You
There's
you
a
could
lot.
you could
There's
you
a
could
lot
say
to that.
you could say it's their responsibility, but will that player actually do it? And I'm speaking of any player in the world,
Yeah.
any professional athlete. You can say yes, it is their
Yeah.
responsibility, but I mean, look at if you watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan way back in the day when Michael Jordan was younger, living in North Carolina, or when he was a part of North Carolina culture, there was a Democratic senator trying to run for office, and he was an African American, and everyone was saying how Michael Jordan should represent him. Michael Jordan said, "Well, Republicans buy sneakers too," and that was kind of one of those things where it was, and Michael Jordan says in the show that he didn't mean it in the sense of like he was just saying it as everyone buys shoes. So it's not really his stance to make a political stance. I guess it's not really his place to make a political stance, but in a sense, he does have a responsibility. A lot of these people, a lot of their fans will listen to what they say. If Ben goes on and says like, "Hey man, I'm Ben from the Nick and Matt Show. I'm intern Ben. These are the bait lures that I use in my fishing when I'm on vacation." People are going to say like, "Oh, Ben's talking about it. I like Ben. I'm going to go and buy those lures because of Ben saying that." So yes, you have a responsibility. Does every player uphold that responsibility? Absolutely not.
And I guess I'll say this because everyone else is kind of tongue-tied on it because it's an interesting subject for sure. And I probably wouldn't have brought it up except that it was recommended to me from somebody that I value their opinion. They wanted to hear what our thoughts were on it. I think it's interesting because these are players who, and this is true for a lot of celebrity, right? But like a lot of celebrity goes from like almost non-existent to like super celebrity. Like, I mean, I guess look at Taylor Swift now, right? Like she grew up not celebrity and now she's really in it. I'm sure she has a lot of PR people. I'm sure she really has an understanding, coaching, all that stuff. But we have disc golfers right now who that's not our scene. Like, and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Do they need PR managers? Like, are people filtering what Ricky posts, what Paul
Okay,
posts?
so
Like, do they
PR
need that?
managers, look at the whole Gannon Burr situation. Gannon Burr, we can say potentially that prematurely made a video about him leaving Prodigy, and then Prodigy goes at Gannon Burr. And what does everyone do? Every fan of Gannon Burr is like, "Oh my God, Prodigy, you guys are the worst. You're a horrible company. How could you sue this kid? That's just the worst thing that you could possibly do." Gannon ends up saying a few months later, "Hey, by the way, I'm sticking it out with Prodigy for the rest of the year." Now those people are probably back to supporting Prodigy and supporting Gannon. They are still probably buying Gannon discs because Gannon is still supporting with them for the 2023 season.
That's
So,
another good point. Another good point.
Responsibility, huge impact. I mean, Gannon's one of the young.
Oh, there goes Nick again.
Uh-oh.
So
See ya.
I think there needs to be a pro school, not how to throw a disc, but like how to be like this
It's
professional.
every time I get on a good
or-
tangent too.
It's a professional or celebrity school. Like we need to find someone who could teach that.
Yeah, I mean, does disc golf need it? I don't think
No,
it needs the
it's
right
part
word.
of life.
But
It's part of life.
like, I could see a future where like manufacturers would be like, "Hey, we want you to do all this so you represent us well," but like at the same part, like I'll say for Maria Oliva specifically, like I don't think I don't think any of her manufacturers, any of her sponsors were like, hey, could you actually go and delete that post because we didn't like what you said? Like, I don't think that's the scenario here. And I don't think Discraft would tell Brody not to if he had any responses. I honestly don't even know what came from it. I don't think either side would be like, hey, like, don't do that. There is a time and place where that may happen, but I don't think this is that. It's more, I think what your initial thought was more about like you could have, let's say, rabid fans who go after the other person, and you know, like, I don't think maybe there was. I really hope not. But like, if there was death threats, like you don't want that to happen. But if people are just gonna be generally a fan and be like, I'm Team Brody, no, I'm Team Maria, like, there's not really a harm in that from a generic sense. But if people are sending personal DMs to the other person, like, you're so terrible for saying that or doing that or whatever, how you acted, like, you can easily really quickly cross a line. And it's hard to say that it's that person's responsibility, because I think a lot of the world would say no, like, it's not. But I would hope that if Brody or Maria saw that their fans were going too far, that they would say something about it. I don't know if it happened here. Disc golf is still pretty small, and our drama is pretty lighthearted. You know,
Yeah.
we don't have our superstars flashing guns and Instagram
That's
stories
what I wanted to
like the NBA does.
highlight. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I think right now in disc golf, you know, the phrase "all press is good press." I think some people are just saying whatever just to get the press. I mean, look at what we're talking about right now in disc golf. Like
we say that every single time. All press is good press because we're talking about it, and it's just funny how that works. But every single time, it's like, yeah, all press is good to press. Look at it, we're talking about it right now. So, anyways,
but I'm just saying, like,
sorry.
how, like, in the grand scheme of life, how small this drama is in disc golf, it's huge. Like, this is like the main highlight thing. I've heard it on a couple of podcasts already. I'm just saying, I think right now in disc golf, people are just saying whatever just to, like, you know, maybe get the clicks.
What would the implications have been had we tried and secured Maria Oliva for an interview tonight? Like, would the disc golf world have caused drama over the fact that we did that? Probably. And we'd be like, well, if our fan base was like out like bashing on, let's say, Foundation's Grip Locked or whoever the interview podcast is, they're like, oh, Nick and Matt is awesome, Foundation's horrible because they were able to get Maria, you know, like, yeah. I would probably go out of my way to say this is kind of the point. I would go out of my way to say that's not what this was about. Like, we try to secure interviews just the way everybody else does. Like, we want to ask the questions just like everybody else does. And I guess that's kind of goes back to the root of the question, which is like, what's the responsibility? Because we could, in that scenario, just step back as the Nick and Mac show and be like, watch this. Like, wow, like, we knew it would get some drama, and it is, and we're doing nothing about it. You know, like, what's the right play? And that's kind of where it's like, well, I think it comes down to the individual. I think it comes down to their what they know about the situation, what they want people to know about the situation. It's too hard to really manage. I think it's case by case, each person. But
yeah,
I think people just need to do the best job to not cause division. That's all I'll say.
There's plenty of scenarios that we could harp on with that, whether it's the situation that we're talking about between Maria and Brody. I mean, you can even look back at the Kristen and Lane King situation that happened last year. You can look back in 2021 with Paige Pierce and USWDGC and how the courses were kind of shoddy. Everyone kind of went against the PDGA in that scenario. And then since then, it seems like the courses, well, last year, the 1 year that it's been since then, has been better. So, yeah, I think one of the biggest things is if a situation is to arise, and let's say it's a big one. Let's say I went out and said something, and all of a sudden my Nick and Matt Show fans are now attacking Matt because of something that I said. As long as you feel like the responsibility that we're talking about is pretty much taking accountability and ownership, saying, you know, hey guys, don't do this. Don't just ghost out of the situation and do what Matt was just talking about, like sit back and just kind of let the snowball effect happen. It's more still be involved with it, try to make amends to the situation. And I think the Brody and Maria situation, I think, blew up a lot more than it should have. I thought it was a funny response from Maria, but at the same time, from what I've read with Brody, said that he messaged her on Instagram and then tweeted at her. I mean, look, we message people every single week to come on the show. If we don't have their number, we're messaging from Instagram. We've messaged from Twitter. Today, I messaged Juliana from Facebook and said, hey, we'd love to have you on the show. This is just how we have to do that, whether we've met everyone on tour or not. But at the same time, it was a fun read.
By the way, Juliana sent a text message that said, "Thanks for including me tonight." So there's a positive.
She was awesome. And I feel horrible. Bad mic. I'm typing while I'm literally the worst person. I'm
as we close this out.
I'm taking next week off.
As we close this out, intern Ben will appreciate this the most, I think. Ben, you know how before every episode we're like, Nick, which microphone do you have on? Check it, tap it, like we do that. I always do that with you. We always do that, Ben. And then this week I'm in a hotel room and I have on, not the same setup as usual. So I say, Nick, you sound funny, man. Like, this is different being in a hotel compared to being in studio. So I don't even say, hey, double check your mic. And he goes more than 3/4 of the episode just rambling in his gym locker room.
The gym locker room. I love when the chat goes crazy.
The gym locker room, the baseball stadium bathroom. It's just a basement. People are so concerned about my background. It's funny.
I love the inside jokes we have on the show.
Yeah.
Like the Gannonburr and the gym locker room.
I actually didn't even know about the gym locker room one. That caught me by surprise, but that's cool. I'm
you have
glad
to read
I'm
the chat.
included.
You don't read
I'm glad I'm
yeah.
included.
This is just the roast Nick
I
Carl
read the
episode,
chat like
and it's all
over
my
half
fault.
the episodes, but this one I don't. I'm sorry. I had too many things going on. And
too funny.
Mid-show stuff.
Hey,
okay.
well, really quick,
long episode.
Really long episode, but we can end it literally in the next 3 minutes, and I can tell you how. We're all going to take 10 seconds, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about it. We have a Silver Series event happening, the Silver Zootown Open presented by Inc. Realty Group, driven by Innova. Make your picks right now.
Zellen Blanchard.
Oh, that's a great pick.
That's not my real pick, but
no,
I saw him I'm just sorting by rating. I'm like, ooh, sneaky. He's an Idaho guy. Yeah, Idaho
he's
guy. We're in
Idaho.
Montana, pretty much the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's a legend out there.
Yeah.
Let me just go for it. I'm just going to roll it off the tongue. I'm going to go off of the only other mountain tournament we've really seen on tour, which was a match play tournament, but seeing Anthony Barella shine out there, I kind of want to go AB. It doesn't make any sense.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Or maybe not that it doesn't make any sense. Of course it can make sense. He can win anywhere, but I don't know. I'm just feeling it. I'm going KT for both Kristen Tatar, both fans. Are we talking about DDO too? Because I already got those locked. Or are we just doing silver? I'll be gone.
No, we'll just do the silver one. We'll just do the silver one.
Aaron Gossage wins DDO. Boom. All right, I'm done. I know you
Big
said we
time.
were just doing
Big
silver,
time.
but I'll be gone until DDO. Have to
my
say
silver picks: Anthony Barella, Kristen Tatar. Matt, you're muted.
I was like, is he talking?
I thought he was having a stroke. I was getting worried.
I'd be remiss not to pick Kristen from here on out. So I'm gonna have to do it. I've learned my lesson a few times. I just always think the other player can win. That, and then this is kind of like I've been picking Anthony because I feel like it's in him to do it. That's what I even told him.
This is
earlier.
The week of Anthony.
Okay, I'm changing my pick if we're
I'm
all
not.
picking
No,
Anthony.
no, I'm not.
No.
I feel like I'm probably off with this, and so you should never pick it if you think you're off. But Isaac Robinson, I think it's another one due. Just another great performance out of him. So that's who I'm picking. You're up, Ben.
I'm gonna go.
Wait, Matt. Oh, did you say Kristen for FPO?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
He's been trending upwards. I like the chances. I don't know what the Zootown Open looks like, but he's been trending upward. I'm gonna go Ezra Aderhold. I think
that's a good one.
I think he's got it. I think he's got it in, Matt. What was that look? Huh? No, I'm kidding.
No, I don't think so. It's a big fluke. No.
So I just like picking. I guess underdogs that'll win. It's my favorite activity.
I just listened to.
Who's your FPO? I said everyone gets 10 seconds.
Pick an
And
underdog.
you're at like 45.
Oh,
No Tatar.
Cat merch.
Yeah, she's there.
Yeah, she is.
What?
Yes, we said the same thing at the same time.
Sayananda. Maybe I should have picked her for more points or something, but I'll stick with
Not a
Kristen.
bad idea. Anyways, all right. Cue fake piano music. Matt, we good to end it?
Yeah, I don't have fake piano music, so I'm sitting in a
Cue
hotel.
the fake piano music. Everybody think about it in your head, the awesome outro that we have. But everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. Once again, I'm going to profusely apologize for the bad mic and the typing mid-show. I thought I was muted. Didn't know my mic was bad. I'll be better next time. But I appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. This feels so weird doing it without the music right now. Don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe, check out all those really cool things. Check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. Tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you in the next one.
All right. It is weird. I'm in a hotel by myself. You guys, we're all remote. We can take the show on the road, apparently. We can do it now. That's pretty cool. Nick, you're awesome. Ben, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome. Evan, this is sayonara. This is the last week of you single, my man. I can't wait to see you at your wedding. We'll have a great time. Everybody, until next time, peace out.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or join the conversation live on YouTube.